My name is Richard Donnelly, but everyone calls me Rick. I am the son of James and Erin Donnelly. Yes, 100% Irish from South Boston. Hot temper. Yes. Iron jaw. Yes. Fists calloused from many fights. Yes. The stupid idiot from Southie. Yes. Yes, I grew up in South Boston, where the Irish mafia was in control. Several films were even made about it. These movies barely scratch the surface of the situation, damn it. Life hasn't been easy. Mom and Dad did everything they could, but school was still terrible. I had a few close friends, but they were always stupid assholes. I was never one to shy away from a fight and usually ended up either in the nursery or suspended from school. It took me 2 tries to graduate from 8th grade because of idiots who picked fights with me. I won more than I lost, and I'm proud of it. But no matter what, I promised my mother that I would not use or sell illegal substances. Why did I make this promise to her? The answer is simple. She died of breast cancer. When doctors discovered it, she was already in stage 4. Nothing they could do for her. I made that promise to her on her deathbed right before I started high school. Dad took Mom's death very hard. He quickly found solace in the bottom of a whiskey bottle every damn night. Luck of the Irish? What a damn funny joke. If you want to know what the luckiest day of my life was, it was the day I was arrested at age 18 for assault and battery. Hey, the idiot I beat up tried to rob old lady O'Connor. Not in my area, damn it. I think if I had stopped hitting him when he finally let go of the bag, I wouldn't have been charged. Was I that smart? You already know the answer to this. The cops pulled me off the idiot and handcuffed me. Anyway, to shorten a long story a little, I only got 6 months in jail for this fight, thanks to the witnesses who confirmed that I was simply helping our area matriarch. The judge wanted to make an example of me. Hey, it could be worse. It's strange, but in prison I fought much less often than in the wild. On the first day I fought with one guy. After that they left me alone. How do you like that, huh? While I was inside, life hit me over the head again. My father died. His grandparents found him after he didn't answer his phone for 2 days, and they went to check what was wrong. As they told me, he drank 3 bottles of Jameson, and that was the end of it. He never got over his mom's death, and I hoped they would get back together in heaven. At least I was allowed to go to the funeral. Yes, it was very painful, but that's when I met Miss Murphy. Miss Amelia Murphy was an elderly black lady who worked as a prison counselor. She was strict, but deep down she had a heart of gold. After a lot of talking about my problems, she asked if I had any hobbies. When I told her that I liked computers because I fixed my dad's PC several times before he died, she asked if I wanted to get trained on them. I happily agreed. She organized everything for me for the time after my release. She talked to my grandparents about it and said that the city of Boston would pay half of my tuition. They paid the other half. With my tests from prison education, I was able to finish my junior year and was able to stay out of trouble my senior year too. Miss Murphy remained in my life even after I was released from prison. She and her daughter, Alicia, became frequent guests of her grandparents for dinner on Sundays after evening mass. Alicia was a year older than me, and I sometimes went to their house so that she could help me with my studies. It didn't hurt that she was damn attractive. Nothing happened, really. I think it was because of the racial barrier, or whatever they call it. I was afraid to ask her out, thinking that she would refuse me. For the record, she looked like Aja Naomi King, but taller and with bigger breasts. I eventually started to consider her my best friend. She already considered me one of her best friends, so that made everything easier. So, after my release, I moved in with my grandparents McKinnon, my mother's parents. Dad's parents died before I was born, so I never knew them. My senior year, I had a breakout season in baseball and received a full scholarship to the University of Florida. Hey, I thought my luck was finally starting to turn. So, my mom and dad always taught me how to treat women properly. They taught me that if a lady is in trouble, you should do everything you can to help her. So in my first year as a Gator, I found myself in yet another fight, which resulted in my first date with Sophie Randall. Damn, she was hot. Sophie most often wore her long red hair in a ponytail. When some frat jerks tried to get her to come with them and she refused, I couldn't help but intervene. They were just unlucky that I had just finished baseball practice. I walked back to the hostel with a bat in my hands. I know what you're thinking. No, I never looked for trouble. Troubles found me on their own. In this case, I had no intention of allowing Sophie to be violated. No, I wasn't trying to say something like, let the girl go. I hate cliches, you know. Besides, why warn idiots? This doesn't make any sense, really. If anyone has a problem with me not fighting fairly, they can go to hell. Sophie called campus security. Their first action was to handcuff me, of course. I was already familiar with police procedures, but Sophie smoothed things over with a few statements. She identified me as the one who saved her after those idiots tried to grab her behind the dumpster. I looked where she pointed, and sure enough, there was a container there, so they planned to take her there. Oh, okay. At least they didn't get it. Once they filled out their reports and took our names and student ID numbers, they let us go. In turn, they handcuffed the frat jerks and called the local cops to come take them away. Are you okay? I asked. Those stupid idiots didn't hurt you? I'm fine, thanks, she replied in a southern accent. She smiled as I stood nearby. Your eye socket will need attention. Why don't you come to my dorm and I'll give you some ice for your eyes? I'm going to be a nurse, so you're in good hands. What's your name, sir? I laughed at these words. My name is Rick Donnelly, not sir. I already know you're Sophie Randall. We take English 101 together. About, exactly. You're the new shortstop, right? It's me. Are you a baseball fan? Are you kidding? I love the Devil Race, Sophie replied, making me smile. Super cute, sexy, smart, and loves baseball. Hell yes. Now let's go. Where are you from? Boston, I said, smiling as we walked towards her dorm. South Boston, if that matters. So you're a Yankee, she snorted and looked at me with disgust. When I raised my eyebrow, she laughed slightly and winked at me. Don't worry, honey. I like your accent. He is cute. Well, your accent is sexy as hell, I replied before my internal filter could kick in. Oh, what a flatterer you are, she laughed again. Sorry about that, I blushed. Sometimes I don't have a filter. Where I come from, we're pretty straightforward. I think straightforward is an understatement, Rick. Do not worry about it. I like straightforwardness. It shows that you are honest. Let's go upstairs. We've arrived. Of course, while we were walking and talking, we had already approached her dorm. I looked at my watch and saw that it was just after 9 p.m. I remembered from orientation that the curfew in the hostel is at 10. Lead the way, Sophie, I shrugged. When we got to her room, she gave me an ice pack and a towel, and I put it on my eye. So what's your story, honey? Sophie asked as she gave me some patches. My green eyes met her blue ones, and I ran my hand through my reddish-brown hair. I felt that I needed to be completely honest with her. I told her about my life in Southie and how bad things had gone so far. I did not miss a single important detail. I even told her about my time in prison. It wasn't easy for you, yes, she said sympathetically. That's one of the expressions, I shrugged with a laugh. Then I opened my big mouth again. I hope you don't mind me saying this, but you're incredibly beautiful. Unbelievable, she said, raising her eyebrows with an expression of mixed incomprehension and resentment. Sorry, incredibly means absolutely or truly, as in you're really, absolutely hot. Well, thanks, Rick, she said and blushed. You're incredibly cute yourself. I prefer manly handsome with a face full of character, but I guess I can settle for cute, I shrugged again. Then she stunned me by kissing me. She giggled and took the ice pack from the bed and gently pressed it back to my eye. Then she leaned down and kissed him again. Now just hold it in place, got it? You're right, girl, I replied, holding the bag. I then looked around the room, noticing that the other bed wasn't even in use. Don't you have a neighbor? She giggled again. No, looks like I got lucky. The girl who was supposed to live with me was expelled before I got here. Nobody said why. Damn, you're luckier than me. I laughed and shook my head. Well, Mr. Donnelly, she said, giving me a sexy smile while biting her bottom lip. I think your luck will soon change for the better, and mine too. The next 3 years went by quickly, but in a good way mostly. The frat jerks who attacked Sophie were expelled because, surprise, surprise, it wasn't their first time trying. In fact, Sophie's incident turned out to be their third warning. Stupid idiots. Sophie and I started dating, and I became very successful in baseball. What can I say? I know how to handle a bat. No pun intended. I also had success with Sophie. Most of our dates went great, and the sex was amazing. But then I discovered the dark side of my red-haired love. Do you know the expression, redhead, fire in bed? Well, she also had fire in her head. Even though her eyes were blue, they turned an angry green when she saw me just talking to another woman. The first time we had a huge fight, I stood my ground while she called me anything but a child of God. Then I made it clear to her that if she couldn't trust me, then it was over between us. Then I left her. No, I didn't change it. I wouldn't cheat on her. Damn, I thought she already knew that by the end of her sophomore year. I used this time after we broke up to get my CompTIA, a Plus, Network Plus, Security Plus, and Server Plus certification. These tests are incredibly difficult, but I passed them all. Damn, at least it took my mind off the crap my personal life had become. Sophie and I didn't speak for 5 weeks until she sent me a message asking to meet. I seriously considered telling her to go to hell. Maybe, looking back, I should have done that. But damn, I couldn't predict the future. I was young, stupid, and damned if I didn't still love her. When I met her at our usual place, she sat down next to me and did not look at me for a long time. When it became obvious to her that I wouldn't say anything, she spoke up. "I'm sorry, Rick," she whispered. "I'm sorry for what I said after I saw you talking to that bitch." "Okay," I said. "Sophie, if you don't trust me, there is nothing I can say or do to change that. Since you never asked, Kate was telling me that she and Ted wanted to invite us to their engagement party. I had to go alone because you don't trust me. By the way, Kate is not a bitch. You should have known that." Then she surprised me when tears flowed from her eyes. She covered her face with her hands and burst into tears. My heart was breaking, so I leaned over and put my arm around her shoulders. "I'm so sorry, Rick," she sobbed, hugging me with both arms. "I should have trusted you, honey. I will from now on. I promise. Please give me one more chance. You will not regret it." "Why don't you trust me?" I asked, now curious. "Do you remember when I told you about Mom and Dad's divorce?" she asked. "Yes, but you never said why," I remembered. "Dad cheated on Mom," she sobbed, looking straight into my eyes. "When I told my mom that I was dating you, she said that all the damn Yankees are the same. Dad is originally from New York." "Well, I'm not from fucking New York," I snorted with disdain. "Yes, you know about the Boston-New York rivalry, right? If you don't know, get out from under your rock." "I know that, honey," she said, tears still streaming down her face. "But Mom didn't stop talking about how you'll end up doing the same to me. She was sure that you would cheat on me or betray me somehow. I'm embarrassed to admit, but I listened to her. You have to trust me, Rick. I love you, and I swear to God I trust you. Give me a chance to prove it, okay?" A little dramatic? Hell yes. Did I believe her? Yes, I think I believed it. The make-up sex that night was fucking amazing. We dated throughout the rest of college. Sophie was a big support for me when things started to go wrong in third year. Twice. In quick order. No kidding. First, the grandfather died of a heart attack, followed soon after by the grandmother. No, she didn't die of a heart attack. She died of a broken heart because her grandfather was the love of her life. She just didn't want to live without him. If someone says that dying from a broken heart is a myth, fuck you. I know it's true. Coach Winston gave me 2 weeks to fly back to Boston and take care of my business. I also received special permission from my professors to allow me to catch up on work when I returned. The affairs were double funerals. Miss Murphy and Alicia helped, of course. God bless them. My grandparents had a decent amount of life insurance, and they named me as the sole beneficiary in their joint will. Alicia and I have become even closer than we were before. Miss Murphy never talked about her husband, but Alicia told me that her dad died when she was little. A drunk driver knocked him off the road and also died. "Are you still hanging around these parts?" I asked, making conversation after heavy topics. "No, I got a scholarship to Caltech," she replied. "I'm studying for a master's degree in engineering. Are you still going to computer science in Florida?" "Yes, I'm getting a bachelor's degree when I finish," I confirmed with a sad smile. "A couple of MLB teams are looking at me as well. I just want my grandparents to be alive, not to mention my mom and dad. I just want to make them proud, you know." "I know, honey," she sobbed, hugging me. "I also want Dad to be alive. But they are all in heaven now, looking at us and proud of us." "You're right," I chuckled, despite everything. "I know they're proud of us." "So Mom told me you have a girlfriend. Is she nice to you?" Alicia asked, taking me by surprise. "Yes, Sophie is amazing," I replied, a happy smile appearing on my face. "She's fucking gorgeous. I'm thinking about proposing to her." The first thing I saw on his face was get it. There was surprise, followed by a look that I could not immediately identify. "That's good, honey. I'm glad you found someone. You deserve happiness." "Hey, what about you? Is there someone special in your life?" I asked, smiling. "Not at the moment," she said after a long pause. "My last boyfriend turned out to be a terrible asshole. So no, and I'm not really looking at it right now." "Sorry to hear that, sweetie," I replied, hoping she would find someone good soon. "You deserve happiness too." "Thank you, Rick." She gave me a bright smile, hugged me, and kissed me on the cheek. "I have to go, but here's my number if you ever need anything. And I really mean anything, okay?" "Hey, same thing here," I told her sincerely. We exchanged numbers and programmed them into our phones. "You need me, I'm there." She hugged me again, and I hugged her back. We said goodbye and went our separate ways. The lawyer read the will, and I inherited my grandparents' property. Only Miss Murphy was with me since Alicia took an early flight to Los Angeles. We said our goodbyes as she drove me to the airport for my flight back to Florida. Yes, I know what you're thinking. No, I didn't get too damn rich. I did inherit a fair amount of money, despite funeral expenses. I also inherited my grandmother's engagement ring, as well as many other family heirlooms. I arranged for it all to be shipped to Florida. I rented a long-term warehouse there and stored everything until I graduated. You'd think I'd suffered enough already, right? It wouldn't be like that. No, I don't mean Sophie. I'm talking about my early career in baseball and how it ended at the damn whistle. And when I say, on the damn whistle, I mean it literally. When I said everything happened quickly, I wasn't kidding. First game back, bang. We got to the College World Series, and the first game was going well. I had already hit a double and a 2 RBI home run, and we were leading by 5 runs going into the ninth inning. Our pitcher threw a slider, and the batter sent the ball my way. They had runners on first and second base, so I ran as fast as I could. I had to run to the baseline to grab the ball, and I turned just in time for the runner to come at me with force. He knocked me down and stepped on my left kneecap as he ran past. This caused the aforementioned damn whistle from me. At least I kept the ball. Then one day I threw it in the general direction of second base while lying on my back. We made a double play, I found out later. When the game finally ended, the referee kicked out the stupid idiot who knocked me off my feet, not to mention half of every bench, as the substitutes rushed onto the field to fight. When the dust settled, my left leg was in a cast and in limbo in the university hospital, and my girlfriend was sitting next to the bed, holding my hand. Then the doctor came in and told me the bad news. Oh yeah, the good news was that we won the game. Now for the bad news. My kneecap was shattered, not to mention extensive tendon and ligament damage. I faced the prospect of 6 months of rehabilitation, and that was after they inserted a new kneecap into me. One of those new artificial knees made of titanium and silicone. I would be able to walk and even run a little, but I would never be able to play college baseball again. As for Major League Baseball, yes, that's right. My baseball career ended on that field in Gainesville. Then I became a little depressed, and only Sophie kept me afloat. Sophie has been by my side every step of the way. She had completed her nursing degree and was now working as a nurse at the university hospital. She used a couple of connections to be assigned as my nurse, assisting the physical therapist with my recovery. Then she drove me home every night and made love to me. Despite how much I felt sorry for myself immediately after the incident, she helped me through it all. I'm glad the university didn't cancel my scholarship after my injury. It would have been terrible, but the coach calmed me down. He was just as disgusted as everyone else about what had happened. Well, everyone except the stupid idiot who stepped on my knee. He didn't seem to care when we went to the NCAA hearing on the incident. Yes, Coach Winston filed a complaint with the NCAA. But since Dwight Hollister was a rising star destined for MLB, the hearing was rather one-sided. He gave an insincere apology, and they let him off with a warning. After the hearing, he walked over to where I was standing with the coach and my NCAA representative. Then he extended his hand. I squeezed it out of reflex, but he didn't let go while he spoke. "Hey, dude, sorry for accidentally stepping on you. You know it was an accident, right? I don't want us to have any misunderstandings, you know." In response, I squeezed my hand tighter. He tried to squeeze my hand as he spoke, but my dad taught me to always extend my index and middle fingers along someone's wrist, just in case. He took no such precautions, so I squeezed my hand tighter, telling him, "Karma is a mean bitch. Be careful now, Dwight." Then I let go of his hand, and he stepped back. This stupid idiot looked like he wanted to hit me. I think if it weren't for the coach and our representative, he might have tried. I'm glad I chose a good career in case baseball didn't work out, which, as you can see, it didn't. So, as soon as I finished my studies, I started making money as a freelancer in it. Word spread quite quickly, and university students became some of my best clients. I also met Sophie's mother, Diana, and she immediately took a dislike to me. No matter what I said, she looked at me like I was the devil himself. I guess I was a Yankee devil to her after what her ex did. She stabbed me every time she opened her mouth. You know what Southern belles are like, right? If not, they may give you a compliment while insulting you. Damn it, I don't know how they do it, but they do it. Finally, I got tired of it. "Listen, Miss Sterling," I said, tensely addressing her by her maiden name. "I'm not your stupid ex-husband. I'm not even from fucking New York. I'm not going to cheat on your daughter. If you want me to leave, well, that's too damn bad. I love Sophie, and I'm not going anywhere." Diana looked shocked, and so did Sophie. No one talked to her mom like that. Well, no one except the Irish hooligan from Southie. "No one talks to me like that, young man," Diana said, still shocked. "No one until now," I replied sharply. "I've put up with your veiled insults for the last 4 damn hours, and I'm not going to take it anymore. I understand. You think I'm not suitable for Sophie. I just want a chance to prove you wrong. If you don't give me this chance, it's still too damn bad. We've been together since the first year. I haven't cheated on her, and I never will." "Okay," she said after a long pause. "If you want a chance, you have a chance, Rick. You will hurt my daughter in any way, and I swear to God Almighty, you will regret it." "Acknowledged, ma'am," I replied, extending my hand to her. We shook hands once, nodded to each other, and that was it. Diana began to treat me much better after that day. She stopped with the biting compliments and small jabs. Now she was even friendly. Life started to get better. Sophie and I lived together for 6 months before I proposed. I had enough savings to organize a fairly nice but small wedding for her. I was preparing for the proposal. I continued my knee rehab and was finally able to get down on one knee with minimal pain. I surprised her when I pulled out a black velvet ring case and again when I smoothly lowered myself to my right knee. I didn't even blink when I opened the case and smiled at her. Sophie Randall, will you marry me? Her hand flew up to her face, and I saw tears running down her cheeks. Yes, yes, oh God, yes. She jumped joyfully on the spot. Then she allowed me to put the ring on her left ring finger. Yes, I gave her grandmother's engagement ring. It gave my grandparents 56 years of happy life until his heart attack and her death a week later. I hope we can break this record. Diana took the news surprisingly well. Sunday dinners together after church with her, and Sophie probably played a role in this. It was nice to know that she was finally starting to love me, if not trust me. Telling our mostly her FRENs was a mixed bag. Most of her friends already loved me. Most of her male friends were also quite calm. However, Brad Douglas, Gerald Shoemaker, and Dwight Bagwell already hated me. The news of our engagement only made the situation worse. You see, Dwight was Sophie's ex-boyfriend. She left him after a huge fight when she didn't want to sleep with him regularly. He thought that since he was her first, she was obligated to give him sex whenever he wanted. She didn't see it that way. He never came to terms with the breakup. Dwight also had a hard life, he said. His mom died when he was a baby, leaving his jerk and overbearing father to raise him. So I think he came at it honestly. It didn't bother him that his dad was also the town sheriff. He got away with a lot of serious things, as Sophie told me. The situation was aggravated by the fact that the police started chasing me. Yes, you guessed it right. Dwight and his buddies were on the police force in the small town south of Gainesville, where we all lived. So soon after news of our engagement spread around town, the cops started chasing me. Yes, there are no connections between the sheriff dad and his son, right? Sophie, as a nurse, worked long hours at the hospital in Gainesville, and I sometimes worked at odd hours as well. I continued my freelance at work and was called upon at any time of the day or night to help someone with one issue or another. After finishing my studies, I was able to buy myself a nice car with cash. A local used car dealer sold me a 1969 Chevrolet Camaro for a reasonable price. I paid $5,000 for it. I took it to a local mechanic, and he was impressed with how well it was in good condition. She had some minor problems, but for $300, she was brought into excellent condition. It wasn't my first car, but it was definitely better than the old Honda Civic my dad left me when he died. I sold it for $200 before moving to Florida for school. Having this big muscle car was a blessing and a curse. While I was out of town, it was pure joy on the road. Every time I was in the city, I obeyed all speed limits. I always turned on my turn signals when changing lanes or turning. And finally, I was careful not to give Dwight or his henchmen a reason to stop me and give me a ticket. I'm sure you've noticed that I've known 3 dumb assholes named Dwight in my life. Well, they were all first-class assholes. I'm not saying all guys named Dwight are bastards, just everyone I knew. So I came up with nicknames for these 3 idiots. Brad became Deputy Dog, Gerald became the detective, and Dwight became the D-sack. This small town also has a kind of talisman. His name is Big Roscoe. Big Roscoe, in case you were wondering, this is the biggest damn alligator I've ever seen. Legend has it that he has lived here since the founding of the city, more than 100 years ago. I won't call anyone a liar on this. Damn, so huge, I wouldn't be surprised. Luckily, he stayed in his part of the swamp to the north of us, mostly near a nice pond where the road turns. If you take this turn too quickly, you could fly off the road and into Big Roscoe Pond. There are even warning signs. I got a good view of it one day while driving to Gainesville. I slowed down at the turn and looked to the left. Damn massive is an approximation of its size, but not entirely accurate. It's not as big as the alligator in that movie about the huge alligator in the lake, but it's still pretty darn huge. If I had to guess, Big Roscoe was at least 40 feet long. His head was at least as long as I was 5 feet 11 inches tall. Yes, I try to avoid dinosaurs as much as possible. Avoiding cavemen like Deputy Dog, Sleuth, and D-Sack wasn't that easy. They tried in every possible way to make me make mistakes. They were riding on my bumper. They turned on the siren and flashing lights, and then drove around me when I stopped. They even followed me home. Then they followed me to work if I worked in the city the next day. I knew how to handle damn pigs. Not all cops are pigs, but D-Sack and his gang definitely smelled like bacon. Some of our friends like to drink after work in the evenings. I joined them one day, but when I saw Dwight driving by, I told the guys that I would have to miss this time. Of course, as soon as I got on the road, D-Sack pulled me over on suspicion of drunk driving. He got angry when I blew the breathalyzer clean. I just grinned at him, started my car, and gave it a little gas. But I drove under the speed limit the whole way home. "I'm sick of your stupid ex and his trolls, baby," I said, sighing over dinner. D-Bag stopped me as I walked out of Lucky's this afternoon. I wasn't even drinking, but he stopped me and gave me a breath test. "I can't believe this idiot," Sophie said, also angry. Then she took a deep breath. "I'll talk to him tomorrow, honey. If he doesn't leave you alone from now on, I'll report it to the sheriff myself. I don't care if he's his father, he's going to have to do something." She stood up and got me a bottle of Guinness from the refrigerator. I smiled and thanked her as she handed it to me. "Yes, yes, I know. My father died of alcohol poisoning. I'm Irish, you know. If we're not drinking, we're fighting or having sex. Sometimes all this in one night. But seriously, I don't drink like my dad did. I don't even come close to his level of devotion to the bottle. One beer a day is enough for me." "Don't worry about Dwight and his boys, baby," Sophie said with a smile as I washed the dishes and put them in the dishwasher. She poured detergent into it, closed it, and turned it on. "I'm not worried, but if they continue like this, I won't even complain. One thing I hate is damn dirty cops," I growled. "I know it's tempting, but don't do anything that could land you in jail, honey," she warned me lovingly, stroked my cheek. "Now go to bed and let me make you happy." Who am I to argue with that? Well, D-Sack and company finally backed down after Sophie gave them a solid kick in the butt. The only thing I heard from D-Sack before our wedding was that a real man fights his own battles. He doesn't let his woman fight for him. I had to muster all my willpower not to smash his damn head with a baseball bat. But I swallowed my pride and let the stupid idiot get away. For once, we got married in Sophie's church. No one from D-Bag's company was invited thanks to Diana and Sophie. I invited Miss Murphy and Alicia. Amelia arrived, and I introduced her to Sophie. They quickly became friends, especially when I told Sophie what Amelia and her daughter had done for me after my father died, and then again after my grandparents died. Alicia was unable to come due to work in Los Angeles. She sent her best wishes. In a break with tradition, as Sophie's father had not been seen or heard from for years, Diana walked her daughter down the aisle. I had not yet converted to the Baptist faith, but I think the Catholic faith was close enough. I'm just glad Southern Baptist weddings aren't as long and boring as Catholic weddings. Before I knew it, we exchanged vows and rings and said, "I do." After a short reception, we headed off to Key West for our honeymoon. We spent the whole week making love. When we returned from our crazy honeymoon, life returned to normal. Sophie switched to day shifts at the hospital on her 6-month rotation schedule, so we had more time for each other. We worked during the day and spent nights and weekends together, like most married couples we knew. We had some arguments, mostly over small things, nothing serious or life-threatening. The police were never called to our home because we pulled ourselves together, cooled down, and discussed problems like rational adults. It wasn't always easy, but I made the effort. Sophie did the same. I had a hot Irish temperament. Sophie also had the hot redhead temperament. She wasn't of Irish descent, but I tried to put as much Irish into her as possible. Makeup sex is the best. Were we in a routine? No way. She would either do something to make our love life interesting, or I would come up with something new. One day, she asked me if I wanted to invite someone else to our bed. This could have turned into a huge fight if it had been serious. I made my views on marriage clear before marriage. She laughed so hard at my expression that I couldn't stay mad at her for long. Yes, life was going pretty well, but you knew it had to end at some point, right? I did not know. I was a fucking stupid moron. Do not misunderstand me. I didn't mess up. Something happened that I could not control. Just after our first anniversary, our idyllic life ended in epically bad fashion. It started out harmless. I was in Gainesville doing it calls. The last call was on the university campus. I had just finished and left the dorm when I saw her, and she saw me. Was I surprised to see Alicia walking towards me with a huge smile on her face? Hell yes, I smiled and hugged her tightly. Damn it, girl, what are you doing here? I asked with a laugh. Engineering exhibition, she grinned, pointing to the large banner above the auditorium doors. My employer sent me here to look at new equipment. It's not as big a show as the ones in Los Angeles and New York, but there's still some damn good stuff here. Hey, it's still great to see you, I said, hugging her again. She kissed me on the cheek, and I responded in kind. Are you in a hurry, or can you grab a bite to eat with me? She asked. I haven't eaten since breakfast. I looked at my watch. It was only 4:15, so I still had time. Of course, why not? I always have time for you, Ollie. Great, she smiled. Come on, let's go to Burger King. We ate, talked, and laughed. We caught up, and she apologized for not being able to make it to the wedding. Don't worry about it, I chuckled. Would you like to come to our house and meet Sophie? I can call her and ask her to grab something to eat on the way home. Alicia looked at me with a look that I couldn't quite understand. Then her expression changed to regret. I wish I could, honey, but I need to go. My flight back to Los Angeles leaves in 2 hours. Next time, I promise. I was a little disappointed, but I tried to ignore it. No problem, honey. You should take a vacation soon, you understand. Come visit us. I know Sophie will love you, and I know you will love her. Her face became indifferent for a moment when I mentioned my wife. Then she was all smiles again, but with a sadder smile than before. Sounds great, Rick. I would like to someday. I'll call you, okay? Sounds great, Ollie. Let me know when, and we will prepare a guest room for you, I promised. I walked her outside where her rental car was parked next to my Camaro. She looked at me, then threw herself into my arms. She hugged me so tightly that it became difficult for me to breathe. She then released me and gave me a quick kiss on the cheek. See you soon, Rick, she said as she got into the car. Yes, I hope so, I replied. Bye, Alicia. Bye, honey, she said, then pulled out of the parking lot and headed toward the airport. I wasn't sure, but I thought there was a tear in her eye. Yeah, it's probably just the humidity here. Then I heard someone coughing, but when I looked, there was no one there. Damn it, figure it out for yourself. I put it out of my mind. I drove home slowly. So you can imagine my surprise when I ran into Deputy Dog as I entered our city limits. I rolled my eyes and he chuckled, gesturing for me to stop. All I could think about was, what the hell? Hi, Rick, he said, giving me his cheeky smile. We received an anonymous tip that a guy who looks like you in a black and silver 69 Z28 was seen making a deal selling illegal substances. Do you mind if I look at the car? Crap. I knew he was lying, but what could I do? I knew what I would do after that, but at that moment I had to obey. Okay, deputy, just quickly, I said, a little irritated. I didn't even notice how he hit me. I opened the door and quickly walked out, ready to beat this redneck to the ground. No, no, Rick, he said, wagging his finger. I noticed that he was holding the handle of his weapon with his other hand. You want me to arrest you for assaulting a police officer, or maybe I'll just shoot you. What will you choose? You want me to show you what happens to the damn dirty cops here in South Sea, you bastard, I replied back. You attacked me first, idiot. Take off your belt and fight like a man. Or are you a cowardly shit-eater? Let's see, he grinned, not succumbing to my provocation. The word of an honest, upstanding law enforcement officer and Southern gentleman against the word of a goddamn Yankee devil. Who do you think they'll believe, Rick? Okay, I said, stepping back for a moment. I raised my hands and shook my head. Do what you have to, deputy. I was going to file so many damn complaints against him that he would be happy if he got a dog catcher badge, I thought to myself. Damn it, I hope this stupid idiot can't read minds. Strangely, Deputy Dog did not find anything during the search, although he tore the trim in my trunk. He then headed to the back seat when his phone rang. I only heard his part of the conversation. Yes, yeah, fine, let me get off work and I'll meet you there. Bye. He then turned to me with a cheeky grin. You're free, Rick. Take care of yourself, do you hear? With that, he returned to his patrol car and sped off to the sheriff's station. I closed the trunk, got into the car, buckled up, and drove home. When I arrived, I parked in the driveway next to Sophie's car. I was already mad as hell, but when I saw Dwight's patrol car parked on the street, I was ready to kill the stupid idiots. I left my laptop and tools in the car and ran to the door. I opened it to see Sophie sitting on the sofa, crying. D-Sack sat next to her, stroking her back. What the hell, Dwight? I growled. I thought we had this settled, asshole. The deputy dog just pulled me over and spent almost half an hour trying to find illegal substances in my car. You'll be lucky if you keep your damn badge after this crap. Why did you do that, Rick? Dwight asked, shaking his head regretfully. Why did you have to cheat on Sophie here? Then Sophie looked up at me, and her expression of despair gave way to pure, undiluted rage. You fucking piece of shit, she screamed. What the hell? I shouted back. Will someone please explain to me what the hell is going on here right now? Sophie just grinned, looking at me like I was something that needed to be wiped off her shoe. She then took her phone and threw it at me. Look at this, bastard, black girl, seriously, damn black bitch. I caught her phone and opened it to look at the photos. There, in full view, were photographs of me and Alicia near Burger King. One where we hugged, and two where we kissed on the cheek. I looked at them both with anger. I didn't cheat on you with someone, Sophie, I shouted at my wife. This is Alicia Murphy. You dated her mother, Amelia. Remember, Alicia couldn't make it to the wedding, but she was here for the Techno Expo at the university. We grabbed a bite to eat and caught up. She's my best friend. Damn it. Holy crap. Do you really think I did this? I was about to continue, but I felt a blow. The light turned off. Damn. Blunt. Jerk. How did I not see this? Well, for starters, I thought those stupid hillbillies had backed down. No damn luck. I didn't know how long I was unconscious, but when I woke up, I found that I was tied to a chair. Before I could move, I heard them talking. Don't worry, we'll teach that damn Yankee something he'll never forget, D-Sack laughed. Are you sure you like this, Sophie? Punish this traitor? Hell yeah, Sophie replied, laughing. I raised my head, and the sight shocked me to the core. There was D-Sack, Dog, and Detective on our bed with Sophie. Then let's get this party started, Dog said, looking at my wife. I don't remember what happened in the next hour or so. I'm sure my mind shut down to spare what was left of my sanity. My first clear thought after that initial shock was that Sophie tilted my head. She then turned and laughed at the three bastards. Well, he's not dead yet. Don't worry about it, Sophie, said the dog. He will be dead soon. I think we should tell him what's going on with the traitors here. He'll find out soon, D-Sack said, interrupting his friend. Sophie doesn't need to know. That's right, said the dog, suddenly becoming serious. He closed his mouth. So this punishment wasn't enough? I muttered, still trying to collect my thoughts and feelings. You know you're going to have to kill me, so why are you making me sit through this crap first? All traitors deserve such punishment, Sophie spat, then spat in my face. Sophie, for the 100th time, I didn't cheat on you, I shouted back. Would you really believe these stupid bastards and not your own husband? You know that they have been trying to set me up for a long time to get to you. Her face quickly changed from rage to horror. She turned her eyes to Dwight and the other two. Is this true, Dwight? She asked, her expression changing to realization. Hell no, Sophie, Dwight replied. We have known each other all our lives. Do you think I would do this to you? It was a coincidence that Gerald was in Gainesville when he saw that damn Yankee with a black bitch. Do you think we could plan this? Sophie then turned her accusing gaze towards me. He's got a point, you bastard, she hissed at me. Only because it was a damn coincidence, I hissed back. That doesn't mean he didn't take advantage of an innocent situation to turn it to his advantage. He just had sex with you, something he's been wanting to do for a long time. All three of these freaks just had sex with you, Sophie. No matter how it ends, our marriage is over. You didn't trust me again. I don't think you ever trusted me, despite what you said. If the photos were of me with some naked girl in bed, you'd be right. But they didn't have it on, did they? Sophie looked like she was starting to have doubts, but Dwight spoke up. Gerald, shut that damn Yankee devil up, Dwight commanded, grinning. Let me go and see how long you can hold out, detective. I challenged myself, preparing for a new fight. I was really hoping that stupid bastard would take the bait. It's a shame he wasn't as dumb as he looked. Instead, he hit me. This time, he didn't knock me out, but I didn't let him know that. Maybe he's telling the truth, Sophie said. Dwight, maybe it really is all as innocent as he said. No, that's not true, Gerald intervened, now lying. I saw them leaving Motel 6, and then I followed them to Burger King. They left the same room, Sophie. I wanted to scream that it wasn't fucking true, but I had nothing left to fight for. Well, except for your life. The fact that Sophie accepted their words and the innocent photos of two friends hugging instead of my words after all our talk about trust. It boggles my simple Southie mind. This also meant that our marriage was truly over. I was released from the handcuffs and moved to the passenger seat of my car. D-Bag explained the plan. They were going to get rid of me at Big Roscoe Pond and make it look like an accident. Dog and Gumshoe followed directions, but on the way to the site, I pretended to be unconscious. When we arrived, I suddenly attacked them, taking advantage of the moment when Dog uncuffed me. A struggle ensued, during which we were interrupted by an alligator from the pond, which grabbed Dog. Gumshoe was hit by an accidental shot, and I used that to free myself from the handcuffs. I tried to help Gumshoe, but he didn't survive. Realizing that I had no chance of avoiding murder charges, I decided to flee the city. I got into my car and drove away, leaving the past behind and planning my next steps. I didn't want to, but I ran. I was fucking running. I drove north to Gainesville and got my phone out. I called Dwight. What the hell are you calling it from this idiot's phone? D-Bag asked furiously. The phone should have drowned in the pond. Just like me, you stupid pig, I growled back. When he took a breath to answer, I interrupted him. Don't talk, idiot. Just listen. Your boys tried to kill me tonight. Luckily for me, Big Roscoe likes the taste of bacon better than Irish sausage. Now I'm leaving. If you try and somehow find me, I will kill you. I know one thing for sure, Pigman. You won't last in saute and 5 minutes. Before he could say a word, I ended the call, turned off the phone, and tossed it into the passenger seat. Damn, that was nice. While I was driving, anger was seething inside me. The pain I was experiencing kept me on my toes. Who should you direct your anger at? Everyone in this damn country town that I've called home for the past 2 years. Yes, I knew that most of them were honest hard workers. It didn't change the fact that the whole damn town was as corrupt as the Irish mafia in South Boston. If the whole damn sheriff's office is going to allow this to happen, something has to be done. Then I felt terrible because I knew there was nothing I could do about it. And that's when I transferred my anger to Sophie. It was something of a double whammy. She was a victim just like me. Only she accepted the role of the victim in the end. She trusted those bastards more than her own husband. Yes, she had known them all her life, but she also knew that they hated me. She knew that they would do anything to set me up, simply because I spoke without their accent. Add to that the fact that they always hated me for being with Sophie, and there you have it. It all came down to a lack of trust due to her father cheating on her mother. She said she trusted me, but when it came down to it, she trusted these idiots more than her own husband. Then something clicked in my head. I took the phone and turned it on again. There were several missed calls from Dwight and one from Sophie, of all people. HM. I ignored it for now, but dialed Diana's number. She answered on the second ring. Hi, Rick, she said. What made you call so late, dear? Something bad, Diana, I replied. No matter what anyone tells you, I didn't cheat on Sophie. You gave me one chance and I took it. There's something I need to know. What are you talking about, Rick? She asked. I heard caution in her voice, but continued. Did you see with your own eyes how your ex-husband cheated on you? Did you personally see it? I asked, acting on a hunch. She was silent for several moments. I guessed that she was thinking back to the time when this happened. No, Tim Bagwell, Dwight's father, told me. But I trust Tim. I know he wouldn't lie to me about something like that. Yes, of course, I snorted. It's not that I don't believe you, but you can't trust anything these Dwights say. Diana, Dwight just ordered Brad and Jerry to try and kill me. They tried to feed me to Big Roscoe. What? She gasped. If today was April 1st, I wouldn't believe you. Even now, I'm not sure I do. What are you talking about, Rick? I took a deep breath, then detailed the events of the day and evening to my very puzzled mother-in-law. I'm telling the honest truth, Diana, I finished. I thought Sophie really trusted me, but she believed those bastards and innocent photos of me and my friend, mistaking them for something more. You mean she let them? Oh, God, she gasped, her voice trembling. Dwight's dad and his friends did the same thing when Carter came home that day, she admitted, her voice shaking. They said they were doing it for me to make me feel attractive after finding out my husband was cheating on me. They said they knew I wanted to get back at him. Diana, I said softly, I know this is hard, but do you know exactly what happened to Carter? He was so upset that he left in the middle of the night, she admitted. At least that's what they told me. He didn't even pack anything. He just got in the car and drove away. I divorced him for abandonment, but I haven't heard from him since that night. Now it was my turn to take a deep breath to calm down. Diana, I think they fed him to Big Roscoe, like they planned to do to me tonight. Oh my God, she gasped again as the full weight of what I had just told her hit her. Diana, I know this sounds far-fetched, but I have a gut feeling that I'm right, I continued. You need to talk to Sophie and get out of town. Brad and Jerry became Roscoe's dinner because of me. That means Dwight can take his anger out on Sophie or you. I've known bastards like him. They don't like to lose. I'll do my best, Rick. You can count on it, she replied, her voice becoming determined. Besides, I can't be married to Sophie anymore, I said, telling her the other bad news. After what she did tonight, there's no turning back. I'm sorry, but I can't forget what she did. Maybe I can forgive her someday, but it won't be anytime soon. Even if I can forgive, I won't forget. I know she thought she was right, but that's no excuse for being cruel to someone you claim to love. You're right, Rick, she said sadly. I'm sorry this happened. Me too, I replied. Just get yourself and your daughter out of town. Tell her to file for divorce on grounds of abandonment, like you did with your ex. I'm going to disappear. Okay, I'll try, honey, she replied. Can you tell me where you're going? No, even if I knew, I answered, feeling my heart break even more. I don't know where I'll end up, but even when I get there, I won't mess with you or Sophie. I'm sorry, Diana. I love you, despite the way you treated me. For what it's worth, I love you too, Rick, she replied, holding back sobs. Be careful, you hear? Yes, ma'am, I said with a sad smile. Take care of yourself too. Get as far away from these bastards and this town as possible. Oh, and tell Sophie that everything except my business account is hers. She might put the house up for sale or something. Goodbye, Diana. I'll tell you. Goodbye, Rick, she said, and we ended the call. Anger was still boiling inside me, pushing despair into the background. Again, I turned off the phone and threw it on the passenger seat. I had already passed Gainesville, heading northeast toward I-75. I had a long way to go, and I didn't know where I was going. Yet. Sophie. God, I felt used. How could I let Dwight, Brad, and Jerry do all this to me? I felt terrible even after 2 showers. Dwight had just left after receiving a call. He was furious, so he quickly got dressed and left. I locked the door behind him, and that's when I started to feel used. It was so vindictive and nasty what I did to Rick. He deserved it, really. I saw these photos where he hugs and kisses that girl. I didn't care about her skin color, despite what I said when Rick tried to deny it. I knew Dwight and Jerry wouldn't lie to me about something like that, or would you? Oh my God, I didn't know. I shuddered, thinking about what I had just done. Rick was right about at least one thing. After all our talk about trust, I did the same thing I did when I saw him hugging Kate in college. No, I did much worse than when I saw him hugging Kate that time. I even gave my consent for Rick to be thrown into the pond with Big Roscoe. Oh my God. I couldn't hold back my tears, covering my face with my hands and sobbing. "What have I done?" I cried. Then my phone rang, and I saw it was my mother. I took a deep breath and answered. "Hi, Mom." "Sophie Jean, you need to pack your things and come to me right now," Mom ordered. "Clothes, toiletries, everything you need for a long vacation. Not in the morning. Now." I knew this tone too well. Mom knew that something serious was happening, besides what had already happened. I wonder what it could be. "Mom, you're scaring me." "What's going on?" I asked, feeling afraid. "Damn it, Sophie Jean, pack your things and get your skinny ass over here," Mom screamed. "Okay, I'll come as soon as I pack my things," I said, giving in to my mother's demands. I grabbed my suitcase and started packing my things. Panties, bras, tights, skirts, shorts, jeans, and blouses went into the suitcase. Mom sounded scared, and it scared me. I didn't know what happened, but I was going to find out. I pulled out my suitcase and duffel bag with toiletries from my old Chrysler car, threw them in the trunk, and drove to my mom's. She came out to meet me when I arrived. I was surprised that she also hurriedly packed her suitcase and bag. "Mother?" I asked, getting out of the car. "Open the trunk, girl," she said, and I reached into the car to press the trunk release. She threw her things into the trunk and sat in the passenger seat. "What are you waiting for, Sophie Jean? Get in and let's go." I sat down and fastened my seatbelt. "Where to, Mom?" "To hell if I know," she sobbed, tears streaming down her face. "Miami? Key West? Anywhere but here." "Okay," I said, starting the car and putting it in reverse. I left her yard and turned south. "Will you tell me what's going on, Mom?" "Rick warned me," she said simply. "Honey, I don't think your father left us, and now I don't think he really cheated on me." I was so stunned by this that I almost crashed the car. "Mom, why do you think that?" "First of all, did you tell these guys they could throw your husband in Big Roscoe's pond?" Now I had to pull over and put the car in park because I was sobbing uncontrollably. "Did you say that, Sophie?" she asked softly. "Yes, but I didn't think they'd actually do it," I cried. "I didn't even know they were planning it. I thought they were joking, you know." "Damn it, Sophie Jean," Mom screamed. Then she took a deep breath to calm herself. "You know Dwight doesn't joke about stuff like that. Well, Rick is alive, and you'll probably never see him again. I think you know deep down that he would never cheat on you. Your trust issues are basically my fault. I filled your head with the idea that all men cheat if given half a chance. I gave that boy a hard time, but I know that he loved you and me so much that he warned me to take you out of town. Jerry and Brad are dead because they tried to kill Rick." This stunned me even more. I looked at my mother in horror, realizing that I had actually signed my husband's death warrant. "Did he tell you where he went? Maybe to Boston." "No, and he said he didn't know where he was going." Mom shook her head. "But even if he knew, he wouldn't tell me. I think he's going to move as far away from here as possible. He told you to put the house up for sale. He's not coming back." I took out my phone and tried to call Rick again. I felt terrible, and I had to make sure he was okay. I knew we would never get back together, but I still loved him. As before, the call went to voicemail. I hung up without leaving a message this time. Honey, listen to me, Mom said. We have to go now. When Dwight gets back, he'll be furious. Now go. A new sense of determination washed over me, and I let out one last sob before stepping on the gas. You're right, Mom. We need to go somewhere safe. This damn town isn't safe anymore, if it ever was. Okay? I think we should go to Miami, honey. I can find a job as a secretary, and there are a lot of hospitals there that need good nurses. Rick said he left you everything except his business account. My advice is to file for divorce on the reason for leaving, as he said, and let him go. We can handle it, do you hear? Okay, Mom, I replied, barely able to contain myself. I lost the best man I ever knew because of my lack of trust. I had to hold on. Of course, we didn't want Dwight to find us after what happened to his two best friends. I just hoped Rick would be okay. Rick. I don't remember much, actually. I drove on autopilot until I reached I-10 and turned west. I had to get out of Florida. I could have gone north to Boston, but I had almost nothing there except Miss Murphy. No, I needed a clean break. I had to disappear. Maybe if I were a Marine or a Navy SEAL, I could take a team of other highly trained marksmen and try to bring order to that city, just like those old movies where former Green Berets bring order to a corrupt town. But life is not like that. That damn city was the same corrupt place as many others. Or at least that's how the sheriff's office was. And when law enforcement is corrupt, it's likely that the rest of the government is too. I found this out in Saute. The Irish mafia rules South Boston, and the police turn a blind eye. Of course, the O'Hara family has brought some order, and they run a relatively clean operation. But when another group comes for a piece of the pie, the street wars turn bloody very quickly. I stopped for gas and washed my face in the bathroom sink. I grabbed some snacks, bought a cooler and every bottle of Mountain Dew Voltage I had, and got back behind the wheel, heading west. I checked my watch and saw that it was already after midnight. I wasn't tired, so I drove west on the interstate and ended up in Alabama. I finally got tired enough to stop in Mobile for the night and pay cash for a room at a Motel 6. But 4 hours later, I was on the road again. I found my bank branch and cleared my business account. I saved half of my income into this account for future expenses. There's already over $80,000 on it since I opened it my senior year in Florida. I closed it and put all the cash in the duffel bag I bought. Dog's vandalism in my trunk worked to my advantage, as I could hide a small duffel bag under where he tore the trim. I got behind the wheel again and drove through Mississippi, Louisiana, and Texas. I drove like crazy, except when I saw patrol cars on the highway. Stopped only for gas and a snack. That is, until I almost fell asleep behind the wheel on the outskirts of Las Cruces, New Mexico. I found another Motel 6 and another cash-paid room for the night. The next day I made it to Phoenix, Arizona. I realized that I needed new clothes, as my current jeans, polos, and underwear were starting to smell noticeably. So I got another room, this time at a Super 8 in the West Valley on I-10, showered again, and went looking for new clothes. I found the nearest Walmart and shopped there. New suitcase, t-shirts, jeans, shorts, socks, boxers, shoes, everything you need. I paid everything in cash, of course. I didn't want to leave electronic traces. Yes, I may have overestimated Dwight's intelligence in finding me, but better to be safe. Part of me, a big part of me, wanted him to find me. I would see it from afar and act accordingly. In other words, I would have killed him. It's been too long since I've been in a real good fight. Yes, I know about the Irish hooligan stereotype. Actually, it's true. I'd rather kick the stupid bastard than listen to his idiotic talk. If you're not Irish, you won't understand what it was like for me. I should have been polite to the three idiots when they followed me in Florida, when every instinct screamed at me to kick their asses and beat the crap out of them. Ever since I left Florida, I've been getting stares all the time, and this is from the very first time I refueled. My face looked like something out of a horror movie due to the bruises from the beating. However, by the time I got to Arizona, the bruises had faded a little, but I still caught glances. As I was shopping for essentials at Walmart, A woman approached me in the aisle with toothpaste and toothbrushes. "Are you okay?" she asked. "I'm fine, thanks for your concern," I replied. Then I smiled. "Believe me, the other guys don't look any better." She simply patted my hand and nodded. "I hope you get better soon." Then she left. It may seem strange, but this woman seemed to restore my faith in people. After all the crap I've been through, I really needed this. Oh, and I had to buy a new phone. I bought a cheap phone and a monthly card for cricket. That was enough for now. When I returned to the hotel room with all my purchases, I sat down and thought about everything that had happened over the past 3 days. In 72 hours, I lost my wife, friends, and home in Florida. Almost became food for the prehistoric monster that once starred in that movie about the Dino Park. Oh, and I might now want the FBI. Yes, I was still in pain, but I didn't become gator fodder, which was good. I took the good with the bad, and that helped a little. I began to think more clearly, and so I took care of some necessary things. First, I took a shower and scrubbed myself squeaky clean. I applied new deodorant, brushed my teeth, rinsed my mouth, and put on new clothes. After looking in the mirror and combing my hair, I began to feel human again. Who would have thought, right? Then I sat on the bed and activated my new phone. I connected it to the charger, entered the time code from the card, and checked the number. Then I put it aside and did some necessary things with the old phone. First, I sent a mass message to all contacts in my customer folder, informing them that I would no longer be able to provide its support. I simply explained that I had to leave the state and would not be returning. Then he recommended the competitor he respected the most as his replacement. I'm sure Kurt will appreciate it. Then an idea came to mind. Now that I was thinking more clearly, I made one last call from the old phone. He called 3 times before she answered. "Rick, how are you, dear?" Alicia was pleasantly surprised. "It's been better, honey," I answered tiredly. The anger began to subside, and so did my pain tolerance. "I hate to ask, but I need a favor." "Whatever, Rick. You know that. What can I do?" "I need you to recommend a place to stay. I'm in Phoenix now. I'll be in Los Angeles tomorrow." "Oh God, what happened? Is Sophie with you? Are you okay? What's going on?" Alicia began asking questions at breakneck speed. "Well, the point is this." I began. Then he told her everything. When she heard that someone had taken photos of us at Burger King, she gasped. When I learned how these photographs were used to turn Sophie against me, she cried out in disbelief. "What the heck?" she exclaimed. "Why would someone do something like that to you?" I then explained how and why as best I could understand, and she gasped in disbelief again. Then I explained how it all played out in the end, including how I almost became dinosaur food. She laughed when I said that luckily Roscoe liked the taste of bacon better. "That's why I had to run," I began to conclude. "I warned my mother-in-law to take herself and her daughter away because I knew my life was worth nothing anymore. I know Dwight. He's a vindictive bastard. No matter how much I wanted her out of my life, no one deserves what he does to her when he can't find me." "I understand, honey. Okay, you can stay with me," Alicia said. When I started to object, she interrupted me. "Listen carefully, Rick. You're staying with me, and that's final." "Okay," I gave in. "Give me your new number. This phone is mine. I'll throw it away to hell." I gave her my new number and sent her a message to prove it. "Okay, I got it," she said. "I'll send you my address on the new phone. If I'm not at home when you arrive, the key is under the big stone in the garden by the front door." "Thank you, Alicia," I said, smiling despite everything. "You're welcome, dear. There is a small condition. As my neighbor, you will help with the house payments." "I'll do it," I promised. "Don't worry. Once I get my freelance business up and running again, everything will be fine. There's one thing, though." "Oh, I'm afraid to ask." "Well, you remember those bastards who tried to feed me to the giant alligator? Since they were cops, there might be consequences. I'm not sure the local sheriff would go that far, but he may or has already notified the FBI about me." "Okay, well, We'll deal with it if something happens. Stop worrying so much, Rick. Okay, I'll stop worrying so much, I snorted in response. Thanks again, Ollie. No more thanks, dear, she replied with a chuckle. Just drive carefully. See you tomorrow. Okay, see you tomorrow, I said and ended the call. I fell onto the bed, and then my new phone rang. I took it and opened the message, then saw Alicia's text. She sent her address. I remembered the address in Santa Monica and saved her number in my contacts under the name Alicia. After checking the new phone to make sure everything was okay, I took the old phone and took out the SIM card. Then he broke it in half and threw it away. As I lay back down on the bed, I closed my eyes for a moment. I wanted to drink, and something stronger than beer, and then it dawned on me. I finally understood how my father felt after losing his mother. I used to cry a little, and now, after everything that has happened recently, I have finally released my grief. I'm not ashamed to admit that I wallowed in self-pity until I cried and fell asleep. I woke up as the sun came through the east-facing window the next morning. Damn, I was hungry. Haven't eaten anything since the last day when I had a burger and fries at a cool Carl's Jr. restaurant. I knew it as Hardee's back east. Despite my growling stomach, I felt better. Much better, in fact. Self-pity, it turned out, was its own form of therapy. Who would have thought? With a smile on my face, I gathered all my new clothes and belongings, grabbed my gym bag, and made sure I didn't forget anything. I then handed over my key card to the front desk and left. I smiled as I put everything in the car, got in, started it, and headed towards the highway. As I entered I-10, I plugged the cassette player adapter into my MP3 player and turned on a Metallica classic. Gotta love the 50 GB of storage for music. I had a significant collection. I hadn't listened to music the entire trip until this point. Now I felt good enough to listen to something. As soon as the song Creeping Death started playing, I smiled and started bobbing my head to the music. The trip took almost 7 hours, including stops for gas and food. I used the Maps app on my new phone to get directions to Alicia's house and arrived a little after 2 in the afternoon. Great, it was Saturday. I hope she's home. The curbside parking lot near her house showed 2 cars in her driveway. Probably her boyfriend, I thought out loud. I looked in the mirror. It hasn't healed completely yet. Oh well. She's seen me beaten before. No need to worry about it now. I turned off the engine and got out of the car, closing the door. He then spent a minute stretching to loosen up his stiff muscles before heading towards her house. First, I wanted to say hello and then pick up my things. I walked along the sidewalk and walked around the entrance. I didn't want to leave marks on this green lawn. Walking up to the door to ring the bell, it opened. Okay, maybe not a guy. The girl who answered the door was damn hot. Hi, I said, stunned. Is Alicia here? Damn, I sounded like a kid asking if his friend could come out to play. I almost laughed at the situation, but instead I just smiled. Of course, she nodded, looking at me appraisingly. Just a second. Then she turned and called Alicia. Hey, girl, there's some white guy asking for you, she screamed. My name is Rick, I said. Some white guy named Rick came to see you, she shouted into the house again. And then I heard quick steps approaching us, and Alicia rushed past her friend, throwing herself on my neck. Oh, I sighed, staggering back as my friend wrapped her arms around my neck. Easy, Ollie. I'm not in the best shape right now. The tension in my voice seemed to help her realize that I was in pain. She stepped back and gasped when she saw my face. Oh God, honey, what happened? It happened during that fight I told you about, remember? I said, trying to be evasive, since there were other people's ears around. At least for me. I looked pointedly at the hot girl standing there smiling at us. Alicia followed my gaze. Caris, what are you doing? Alicia asked. Enjoying the show, girl, Caris responded. She smiled when I shook her hand. I'm Alicia's cousin. Rick Donnelly, I introduced myself. Nice to meet you, ma'am. I didn't know Alicia had cousins. On my father's side, Alicia explained. She's my aunt's daughter. Come on, Rick. We need to get your things inside so we don't have to do this later. Chris was cute, but Alicia was beyond competition. As we all walked back to my car, Alicia's cousin whistled and nodded approvingly. Nice car, she said, looking at me again. I like classic cars. I'll have to give you a ride sometime, I replied with a shrug, then winced. When I've recovered a little. Alicia and Chris laughed. What's so funny about my injuries? I asked, a little annoyed, opening the trunk and pulling out a duffel bag with money. I made a mental note to take it to the bank first thing in the morning. That's not the point, honey, Alicia giggled. Hey, you're a really nice guy, Rick. But I play for the other team, Chris explained. I immediately understood what she meant. Well, if I were a woman, you'd be in trouble. I joked and flirted with the most charming smile. It's a pity because I love being a man. Okay, enough flirting, Mr. Blarney Stone. Alicia chuckled and rolled her eyes. Kiss me, I'm Irish, I flirted with Alicia. Maybe later, honey, she replied flirtatiously and winked, causing another burst of laughter from Chris and me. With a gym bag and a toiletry bag, Alicia dragging my suitcase, and Chris watching everything, we headed back to the house. Alicia showed me to my room while Chris went back to watching TV. I noticed that the room had a bathroom. I dropped my bags on the floor and turned to Alicia. Are you giving me the master bedroom? I asked in surprise. If you want to think so, Alicia smiled. All bedrooms in the house have ensuite bathrooms. I know I don't say this often enough, but I love you, Ollie. I smiled again. I opened my arms and she came over so we could hug. God knows I needed as many hugs as possible at that time, just not too strong. These I could have avoided until my body healed. Pulling away gently, Alicia turned and closed the door. Then she turned to me again. Okay, Rick, take off your clothes. I'm running a bath for you so you can wet yourself. You've been showering this whole time, haven't you? Yes, I winced. How did you know? Because you're a stubborn Irishman who doesn't understand the difference between being cool and being smart. Alicia diagnosed, hitting the nail on the head with her keen perceptions. Guilty, Your Honor, I admitted, raising my right hand. She just shook her head and smiled, then went into the bathroom to draw me a bath. I listened to the water begin to flow as I took off my t-shirt. Then he sat down on the edge of the bed to take off his shoes and socks. This turned out to be more difficult than I thought. All this damn driving really made my stiffness worse. Once I took them off, getting the jeans off was the next battle. I had just pulled them off when Alicia looked out of the bathroom and saw that I was still in my boxers. I couldn't hide my expression, and Alicia hurried over to sit next to me. She carefully examined my chest and arms, shaking her head with a look of concern on her face. She then pulled me to my feet and looked at my back. I couldn't see my back, but judging by her size, everything was bad there. God, she whispered, only you would be able to move after what those bastards did to you. I take that as a compliment, I chuckled. Well, Carissa is finishing her 4th year of medical school. After your bath, I'll have her check you over. I sighed in agreement. Okay, but first, I'll help you wash up, she continued. Take off panties. Seriously. Yes, seriously, she said. You don't have anything that I haven't seen before. Okay, I shrugged and took off my boxers. Damn it, Alicia whispered, her eyes widening. Hey, I'm still a guy. I made excuses. Yes, I'm in pain, but I'm still a man, and you're still damn beautiful. My voice brought her back to reality, and she looked into my eyes. More? She asked softly. Now I'm blushing. I had no choice but to confess. Ollie, I had great sympathy for you, okay? Okay, we'll talk about this later, she said. But first we need you to relax and recover. Went. She took my hand and led me to the bathroom. There she helped me gently immerse myself in hot, soapy water in a large, round bathtub. As I sank into the water, I groaned with relief. I rested my head on the edge of the large bathtub and stretched my legs, feeling my bruised body relax. Alicia laid out 2 large soft towels and then took off her clothes. She joined me in the bath and began to gently clean and massage me. I relaxed under her caring hands, feeling the tension leave my body. After several days filled with pain and stress, her efforts brought me great relief. When she finished, we both got out of the bath and she helped me dry off. Her care and attention made this moment special, and I felt extremely grateful for her support. I must admit, I felt much better. The bath relaxed my muscles. I felt 10 times better than before. You know, I could get used to this, I joked. A beautiful woman washes me and massages me sounds like a doctor's recommendation. Alicia giggled as she finished drying me off. Wipe your feet yourself, honey. I love you, but not that much. Yes, ma'am, I chuckled, wiping my feet on the towel I was standing on. Ollie threw the towel she dried me off with into the laundry basket in the bathroom and grabbed another for herself. I couldn't take my eyes off watching her slowly and languidly drying her beautiful body. I tried to feel guilty. I really tried. But then the image of Sophie spitting in my face flashed before my eyes for a moment, and whatever guilt there was, it evaporated. Yes, I know Sophie was tricked by those stupid bastards, but this in no way justified her actions. None of them held a gun to her head. It was her choice to believe them and not me. It was her choice to let these vile assholes have sex with her. It was her choice to spit in my face. So when it was over, I made my own decision regarding our marriage. I left. Some people say you can't just flip a switch and stop loving someone. I think this is partly true. There is a very thin line between love and hate, 2 sides of the same coin. Let me explain. I didn't hate Sophie. I hated what she did. But I really stopped loving her. When I saw what she could do, it showed me everything I needed to know. When you start to fear your spouse, you need to leave. When I started to be afraid of Sophie, I should have gotten the hell out. I'm not one of those dependent idiots who thinks they can't find anyone better. Yes, I loved Sophie. In the past, I was in love with her. Also in the past tense. I managed to suppress my crush on Alicia a long time ago. But now I knew that she was back. Like the show? She asked, giggling and winking at me. Yes, I do, I replied with more confidence than I thought I had. Okay, that's enough, she said, grabbing her panties and pulling them over herself. She then put on a top and shorts, followed by sandals. I just stood there with my mouth open while she got dressed. She stunned me with these 2 words. When she saw the expression on my face, she sighed. Rick, honey, you need to rest, she said softly. She took my hand and led me back to the bedroom. She put me on the bed and sat next to me. I'll go get Carisse and have her check you out. I know you don't want the doctors to know because it might get the attention of those bastards in Florida. But that doesn't change the fact that you're badly hurt. She's in her 4th year, so he knows a thing or two, okay? Fits me, I replied, half smiling. Okay, now lie down and we'll be right back. Yes, ma'am. I lay down and immediately closed my eyes. Alicia, I can't believe what that nasty bitch and those bastards did to Rick. I was shaking as I thought about everything he had been through in the past few days. Drive across the country on adrenaline, some food, and a ton of mountain fucking dew. Yes, I saw what was in his car when Carisse and I helped him with his things. Chari, I called from the hallway. What happened, Ollie? She asked. Can you examine Rick for me? He's much worse than I thought, I explained. Sure, let me pack my things, she replied. She jumped up from the sofa, went to her room, and brought a medical bag. She then ran to me, and I led her to Rick's bedroom. Crap, she exclaimed. What hit him? A Mack truck? I'm surprised he's not dead yet. Can you examine it? I asked. Do everything you can for him. He won't go to the hospital. Chari looked at me skeptically. Okay, but when I'm done, you're going to tell me what the hell is going on here. Okay, I said and nodded. I watched as Carisse examined Rick. It didn't surprise me that he was fast asleep. The man has been through hell these past few days. She checked his pulse, felt his ribs, and listened to his breathing with a stethoscope. She blew on it to warm it up before applying it to his skin. When she finished her examination, she stood up and walked over to me standing at the door and pulled me into the corridor. "He probably has a few bruises," she said quietly, "but nothing broken as far as I can tell. Your friend is a real tough nut to crack." "He was born and raised in South Boston," I said, looking at Rick's sleeping form. "He had to grow up strong, otherwise he wouldn't have grown up at all." Chari thought for a moment, and then her eyes opened wide. "Wait, is that the same Rick Donnelly? The one who played shortstop for the Gators? I saw the scar on his left knee. Is that really him?" "I didn't know you watched college baseball," I laughed. "Yes, that's him." "Wow," Chari whispered, shaking her head. "Maybe I'll try guys again for his sake." "Don't even think about it, girl," I was warned. "He's still married, and after the crap his wife did, he's not ready for any kind of relationship right now." "Oh, please." Chari rolled her eyes and chuckled. "I saw the way you look at him and how you continue to look at him. I understand you, girl. You have a story. Trust me, Ollie. I saw the way he looks at you. I remember being with the guys, and I even helped one get through a bad breakup. The best thing for him is you. But if you don't want him, you really don't. I'll take him for a walk. Who knows? He might bring me back to the guys." Damn it. I knew she was right. I started to think that she wasn't completely on the girl team. "Okay, let's say you're right," I said, not ready to fully admit it. "What happens if I turn out to be just a temporary option for him? What then?" "If this happens, and from the way he looks at you, it's a big if, you can handle it," she explained. "I'm willing to bet you won't be just a stopgap for him. Now," she continued before I could get a word in edgewise, "you owe me a very detailed explanation of what happened to your man." "Okay, let's go to the living room," I said, and we went there together. I took the remote control and turned off the TV. Then we sat on the sofa, facing each other. I took a deep breath and relayed what Rick had told me. When I finished, Chari's jaw was open in shock. I could understand her. At first, I thought she was going to call me and Rick liars, but when I finished, she just shook her head. "It's too strange to be a lie," she said, still trying to understand. "It must be true, because no one would make up such a story." "I've known Rick since we were teenagers in Boston," I said, giving her a little background. "He's many things, but liar isn't one of those things." "I trust you and him." Chari raised her hands in surrender. "Wow, that's kind of tough, though. What the hell is that? What was that disgusting bitch thinking?" "I know, right?" I agreed. "She lost one of the best, most loyal men I've ever known because of the words of some stupid bastards. All because they had pictures of us hugging before my flight the other day." Chari nodded, then smiled. "I understand you, sister. Think of it this way. Her loss is your gain." "You're right," I nodded in agreement. Then I smiled my biggest smile. "As soon as he gets better, I'll turn his world around." Dwight. Damn it. Why couldn't that damn Yankee just die? Why did he run away? Now I need to find him. Otherwise my dad will give me a hard time. Rick Donnelly is unfinished business, and Sheriff Tim Bagwell hates unfinished business. Crap. Not even Sophie's ass is worth it. Oh yeah, that damn bitch, and her mother fled town too. Damn it. Jerry and Brad are dead, and I'm screwed. How the hell do you find someone who doesn't want to be found? Don't tell me how far outside my jurisdiction it is. I know he's long gone. Hell, he's probably already in Canada or Mexico. No, I'm not stupid enough to think that he actually returned to Boston. Despite him calling to brag after killing my buddies, I knew it was a ruse. He wanted me to go there and start asking questions, which would most likely lead to my death. We have to give him credit. I would do the same if I were him. But that doesn't change the fact that he's still unfinished business. I have to find his damn Yankee ass, or it will be my head on the chopping block. I could try to find Sophie and her mother. I'm sure they would know how to contact him. No, I had to give up that plan too. He would never, ever contact them. Not after what the boys and I did to him, including Sophie. I smiled for a moment before I remembered what happened after that. I knew that if I didn't find him, I was lost. However, how the hell do you find a needle in a stack of needles? He could be anywhere in the world by this point. Damn it. And then it dawned on me, and I smiled. I didn't know how to find the bastard, but I knew who could find him for me. I pulled out my phone and called my cousin at the FBI field office in Atlanta. "What do you want, Dwight?" asked Brett when he picked up the phone. "Hey, don't be like that, man," I said. "I need a favor. Just listen before you say no. If you do this, we'll be even." This caught his attention. He owed me, or rather, my dad, for the fact that one of his mistakes was hushed up. "Are we even?" he asked, rather asserting. "No more favors after this? Do I have Uncle Tim's word on that?" "You have my word on this, Brett," I promised. "If Dad says anything, I'll sort it out with him." "Not enough," he snapped, making me grind my teeth. "Have Uncle Tim call me. If he says we're even after this favor, I'll do it. Until then, go to hell." Before I could respond, the bastard hung up. Crap. Just because I somehow got him into that trouble when we were in high school, he automatically thinks I have it against him. Now I need to convince Dad to let me go Brett if he will do us this favor. I cursed everything in the world as I walked to the station and immediately entered my dad's office without knocking. "Well," he said without even blinking. "I called Brett," I said. "He says that if you let him go, he will do us a favor. I haven't told him what it is, but I want him to use his FBI powers to track down Donnelly for us." He replied, narrowing his eyes. I waited for him to speak, hoping he would agree. "Okay, do it." "Here's the thing, Dad," I continued, swallowing. "You should call him yourself. He won't believe me." "Crap," Dad swore. "Okay." He picked up the phone and dialed the number Brett. He should have clearly calmed down before speaking to his nephew. "Brat, do what Dwight wants and we're even. You have my word on that." "Uh-huh. Okay, he'll call you in a minute. Bye." Then he looked at me with a fierce look. "I just gave away a valuable resource, thanks to you and your idiotic friends. He must justify himself, otherwise it will be your ass, son." "He'll live up to the trust, Dad," I assured him, silently praying that the bastard would live up to the trust. "That better be. Now, get the hell out of my office," he growled. I went out and called Brett. "Okay, asshole. What do you want?" he asked. "He will do it even if he doesn't like it. Family is family. I need you to try and track down a guy named Richard Donnelly. He drives a black and silver 1969 Chevrolet Camaro Z28, I said, adding his car license plate and social security number. "What did he do?" asked Brett. I knew exactly how to answer this question. "He killed Brad and Jerry in cold blood," I growled. "He's a Yankee from Boston. I don't think he went back there. He probably knows that's the first place we'll look. We have to keep it a secret." Brat laughed. "So you don't want anyone to know that two of your best were killed by the damn Yankees? Oh, damn irony. What did you do?" I knew better than to deny it. Brett Harlandu doesn't make sense. He was the only one of my relatives on my mother's side whom I knew. He was biased and believed that if I denied it, then I was lying. "It's none of your business," I said, making it clear that the matter was closed. "I need this as soon as possible. As soon as you find him, call me. Then I'll figure it out myself." "Okay," he gave in, swallowing his pride. "Hopefully I'll have something for you soon, but it might take a while. If you call me before I call you, it might take a little longer." "Longer. Got it?" A jerk through and through. Damn, I wish I could feed that cocky bastard to Big Roscoe. "Got it," I replied, swallowing my pride for a minute. "Okay, bye," he finished, hanging up. All I knew was that this bastard had to live up to his trust. Rick. Damn it, I felt better than I have in days. Most of the pain and stiffness is gone. I opened my eyes in an unfamiliar bedroom, trying to figure out where I was. I then pulled the sheet off my naked body and quickly sat up. I started to panic, but I forced myself to calm down. Looking around, the memories came back in an instant. Long drive, lack of sleep, not enough food, and too much Mountain Dew. Combine that with the beating I received on the worst night of my life, and I felt lucky to be alive at all. Then I remembered what happened in the bath when Ollie gave me the best massage of my life. Then my bladder started screaming for me to release the main valve. I got out of bed, still a little stiff, and headed to the bathroom. Having freed myself and drained the water, I breathed a sigh of relief. I then returned to the bedroom and saw a note in Ollie's handwriting on the nightstand. I took it and read, "Rick, we put all your clothes in the dresser and your duffel bag with the money under the bed. Your toothbrush, toothpaste, mouthwash, and other things are in your bathroom by the sink. Hope you feel better soon, dear. Love you. With love, Ollie." I smiled when I finished reading. The little heart at the end was a nice touch. I've said it before, and I'm sure I'll say it for the rest of my life. God bless Alicia always. I took a chance and stretched before opening the dresser drawers. There was still some pain and stiffness. I opened the top drawer and took out a pair of panties. I put them on and went back to the bathroom. Then I looked at my left hand, as if seeing it for the first time. I was still wearing my wedding ring. Just looking at him made me feel sick. I took it off and threw it in the bathroom trash can. Then I splashed cold water on my face and looked into my eyes. "This is the first damn day of the rest of your life, Rick Donnelly." Then I smiled and nodded to myself. I put on a t-shirt, jeans, socks, and shoes, and put my wallet and keys in my pockets. Then I went to the kitchen to get some food. I didn't hear anyone in the house, so I assumed they were either sleeping or had gone somewhere. I then looked at my watch and blinked twice to see the day and date. I was unconscious for over 24 hours. Ollie let me sleep for more than a day. I breathed a sigh of relief, realizing for the first time how bad a state I was in. I didn't see anyone when I got to the kitchen. Hell, I didn't even know the full floor plan of this one-story house. I looked around and noticed another note on the counter. It was from Ollie, like the previous one. She said she needed to go shopping, but I could use everything in the refrigerator. I shrugged and went to the refrigerator, where I found 2 Guinness Sixes. Hell yes. I took the bottle, opened the cap, and took a long sip. Nectar of the gods. It made me feel even better knowing that she bought it for me. Ollie prefers wine or whiskey, but she knows how much I like my Irish dark beer. However, knowing that beer itself is not a food, although it should be its own food group, I went looking for real food. I found some ham and cheese and noticed a bread box on the counter. After rummaging through the cabinets, I found the plates. I took one, took 4 slices of bread from the bread bin, and some ketchup from the refrigerator. I put the bread in the toaster, and when it came out, I squeezed a little ketchup onto each piece. Added ham and cheese to the sandwiches, microwaved them for 45 seconds, and I had a real meal. I ate while thinking about some things. Yesterday was Saturday, so today is Sunday. Tomorrow, I will need to go to the bank to deposit money into my account. After washing the plate, I decided to turn on the TV and see if there was anything on the news about me. I couldn't find anything, so I turned off the TV, went back to the bedroom, and grabbed my laptop. I found another note on the laptop with Ollie's Wi-Fi password. This made me smile. Then I went to Google and found that my name was not mentioned anywhere in the recent news. It was good at least. I was not a wanted person. Not officially, at least. I took another sip of my beer, frowning as I thought about everything I knew about Dwight, his bastard dad, and his cronies. They actually ruled the entire city. Of course, they were not involved in extortion and racketeering. That would just force people to pack up and leave. I knew that most of their income came from issuing fines to visitors. The more I thought about it, the less likely it seemed that Dwight would come after me. He'd still have to be a lot smarter than he is to track me down. He'd also have to be damn stupid to try anything if he managed to track me down. On the other hand, knowing the average mentality in this village, I would be damn stupid if I overestimated Dwight's intelligence. I sighed, took another sip of the divine drink, and slowly shook my head. If I don't hear anything new in the news about me, I won't worry. Hell, Dwight doesn't have the resources to track me across the country on his own. This made me smile. I understand that some people may think that I was a little emotionless after the end of my marriage. They may be angry that I don't mourn for Sophie. No, I spent the whole damn drive from Gainesville, Florida to Los Angeles, California drowning in thoughts of what could have been and how the hell she could have, but hoping she was safe no matter what. Sophie was not innocent, far from it, but she was still a victim. A victim of these bastards' plan against me and a victim of my mother, inspired she distrusts men. That she chose to be a victim in that moment really hurt me. There's no turning back from this. I guess growing up in that environment, losing my parents, and then losing my grandparents just 4 years later helped me process tragedy and grief more quickly. My now broken marriage was just another tragedy to deal with, and I was almost done thinking about it. I went from love to hate to hell faster than most people, I think. I was grieving the death of my marriage and was ready to move on. Now I was just hoping she would file for divorce in 6 months so I could actually move on with my life. The only thing I regretted now was leaving the family heirlooms in Gainesville in a warehouse. We'll have to organize something to move it all here. I breathed a sigh of relief that the house was too small to accommodate all these things. Almost everything in this damn house was Sophie's things. I was still processing it when I heard the front door open, heard Ollie and Chris talking, but could not understand their words. Then I heard a third female voice laughing. I decided that I had thought about it enough, so I closed my laptop, put it aside, and went to see who the new guest could be. The new guest was damn hot. The way she wrapped herself around Chris told me everything I needed to know. Not that I'm complaining. She reminded me a little of Rihanna, and that definitely wasn't a bad thing. They were all laughing at something Chris said, then Alicia looked my way and saw me. Well, who returned from the other world, she smiled, coming up to me and hugging me. I returned her hug. I then surprised her with a quick kiss on the lips. Yes, back to the living, I grinned at her surprised face. Thanks for the beer and food, Ollie. Oh, and for the Wi-Fi password, too. She hugged me tighter. Then she lowered her voice. I'm just glad you're okay, honey. You scared me, especially after Chari checked you out when you passed out. I pressed myself against her neck, inhaling her feminine scent before answering. Me too, Ollie, I whispered. I can never thank you enough for everything you've done for me. It's okay, Rick, she answered quietly. Then she stepped back and smiled at me. Let's go meet Jade, Carissa's girlfriend. Why not? I smiled. Alicia walked forward and I followed her. I stole a glance down, admiring her beautiful buttocks. How are you feeling, Rick? Carissa asked, looking worried. Much better than yesterday, I replied, hugging her. Ollie told me that you examined me. Thank you for that. Hey, you were in bad shape, honey, she smiled. I just made sure you didn't have anything broken and prayed for the best. Honestly, if you weren't in such good shape, you'd probably be dead by now. Well, glad I stayed in shape, I smiled. Thank you again, Cariss. You're welcome, darling, she replied with a wide smile. She then turned to her girlfriend. Anyway, Rick, this is my girlfriend, Jade Hightower. Jade, this is Rick Donnelly, a very good friend of Alicia. Nice to meet you, Jade, I said, extending my hand. She shook it and smiled. You too, Rick, Jade replied. Are you from Boston? Born and raised, I smiled. South Boston, to be exact. What are you doing here? I work in the IT department on the Cariss campus, she replied, smiling at her girlfriend and blowing her a kiss. We met almost a year ago, but only started dating last week. Sometimes love takes time, I nodded, then looked at them. She noticed my gaze and smiled back before turning away. Then I looked back at the Cariss girl. I worked in it too. I had my own business in Florida before all this happened. Heard it was bad, Jade squeezed her girlfriend's hand. If you need a job, a couple of guys just left the IT department. I'll think about it, I smiled. I'm more of a freelancer. Well, Jade and I have to go study, so we'll leave you two alone, Cariss said before Jade could respond. She smiled, grabbing her girlfriend's hand and leading her down the hallway. "Nice to meet you, Rick," Jade shouted before Chris pulled her into the room and closed the door. "You too, Jade," I shouted back, then laughed and shook my head. "They're in love," Alicia said, standing next to me. I looked into her eyes and saw something there. It was the same look as before when I first told her about Sophie, then again when I asked her to come to us. Now I knew what it was. A look of longing, and it hit me like lightning. My heart jumped into my throat, and I swallowed. "I didn't know," I whispered, hugging her. "It's not your fault, darling," she whispered back. "I didn't realize how I felt about you until you were with that bitch. Come on, we need to talk." With these words, she took me by the hand and led me to her room at the other end of the house. Now I already knew the location of her place quite well. She let me into her room, closed the door behind us, and locked it. She then walked over to the bed and sat down, patting the spot next to her. I sat up and looked at her as she took my hand. "Rick," she began, "you told me you were once in love with me. Do you remember when you chased Dwight Fisher to return Mrs. O'Connor's purse?" "Yes," I smiled sadly. "It sent me to jail." "Well, I never told you this, but I saw everything that happened," she admitted, looking into my eyes. "I saw Dwight rush past the house where I was studying with Jenny McDonough. Then you rushed after him. Jenny saw it too, so we went outside to see what was going on. I didn't even know what that stupid bastard let go," I admitted. "I just wanted to teach him a lesson. Old Lady O'Connor, I knew Dwight was a bastard, but I never thought he'd try to rob her." "I know, darling," she replied with a smile. Then she ran her hand over my cheek. "What I'm trying to say is that that's when I started to fall in love with you." Her news stunned me, and I think she realized it when my jaw dropped. She lifted my chin with one finger. I cleared my throat. "Well, I started falling in love with you when you helped me study after I got out of prison," he blushed. "You have no idea how many times I wanted to ask you out, but I was stupid then. I was afraid to ask you, not knowing, would you agree to date someone like me?" "You mean because you're white and I'm black?" Alicia asked, with a small smile, twitching the corners of her lips. "Well, yeah," I shrugged, still feeling like a teenager. "Hey, I was young and stupid as hell back then. I didn't know what to think." "Well, what are you thinking now?" she asked, leaning over and kissing me. "I don't think I'll rethink everything anymore," I replied. "We made love." "I love you, Rick." "I love you too, Alicia," I replied quietly. "I won't leave until you say so." I thought what I had with Sophie was true love, but this feeling paled in comparison to what I felt now. Despite the residual pain and stiffness in my body, I felt great. No, I felt absolutely amazing. I lost track of time. "I need to go to the bathroom, but I'll be back. Don't move." "I will be here," I promised. I watched her beautiful ass as she walked to the bathroom. When Alicia finally disappeared from sight, I began to process my emotional state. Sophie came to mind first. I shuddered and my stomach threatened to vomit, but I got through it anyway. She was a victim of Dwight's games. With his trust issues, he knew how to play her. But damn it, she shouldn't have done that. I started to get angry, so I replaced her face with the face of Diana, my soon-to-be ex-mother-in-law. Despite our difficult start, we came to an understanding, even mutual respect. Damn, I loved that old lady. She had a good head on her shoulders. I sighed, shaking my head. I knew she was part of Sophie's original trust problem. I hoped she got her daughter out of town. She too was a victim of Dwight's game. Well, Father Dwight's games. I started to see a pattern in all this shit. Tim Bagwell may not have been the mayor, but he was the real power in the city. He was in charge of the police station. It wouldn't surprise me if he had the mayor in his pocket, or worse. Heck, it wouldn't surprise me if the dumb mayor owed something to Tim Bagwell. According to all the rumors I heard in that town, almost everyone was afraid of the Bagwell clan. This scared me a little, so I pushed those thoughts away and focused on Alicia. Now I smiled. I tried to feel guilty, especially since I was still legally married. My Irish Catholic guy seems to have gone to lunch. As I saw it, my marriage ended that night. When Sophie betrayed me and those stupid bastards tried to kill me, all bets were off. I just realized part of my long-forgotten dream with Alicia. All the feelings I thought were gone came back. And then find out that she feels the same way about me. This is simply amazing. My smile turned into a wide smile when I saw Ali come out of the bathroom. She had one big smile on her face. We made love again. If she said anything after that, I don't remember. I passed out. Alicia. I almost panicked when Rick passed out. Damn it. Then I realized that he had not yet fully recovered from his ordeal. He was breathing and had a pulse, so I decided it was best to let him sleep. I went to my bathroom. When he told me that he had the same feelings for me after I confessed my love for him, I almost attacked him on the spot. But we needed to talk first. I knew he was still married on paper, but after what that nasty bitch did to him, he won't come back. My man may be many things, but he was definitely not a masochist. When I finished cleaning, I returned to the bedroom and smiled. He looked so innocent. I looked at him for a few minutes, then lay down next to him. I laid my head on his chest and decided to take a nap too. I fell asleep to the slow, steady rhythm of his heart. Brett, damn these bastards. Almost 6 months of searching, and I haven't found anything I can work with here. Family or not, I shouldn't have been in this situation. If it weren't for Dwight and his bastard father, I wouldn't even be trying to find an innocent man for them. You see, I was framed. The Bagwells run this town. This is the main reason I left. Mom and Dad told me to just agree to Tim's demands. They said it would be easier for me in the long run. At first, the services were harmless. But then they began to demand that I divert suspicion if anyone contacted the FBI. I had to suppress any accusations against the Bagwell family. What hurt me the most was lying to my superiors at the Bureau, especially Special Agent in Charge Wilson, my boss. Each time they said the charges might come up again if I didn't do what they said. Now I was looking for some poor bastard named Richard Donnelly. When I found out he was from Boston and married Sophie Randall, everything became clear. Dwight was Sophie's first. He believed that this gave him the right to have her whenever he wanted. I believe he finally got Sophie into bed again and Rick became the target. There were over 200 men in Boston named Richard Donnelly. It was like looking for a needle in a haystack. I had to call several times to get more information about this Rick Donnelly guy, and finally Dwight told me what I needed to know. This man worked with computers, even had his own business in Gainesville and surrounding cities. However, he left everything behind. I could understand it. Do I believe Donnelly killed Brad and Gerald? Yes. Do I believe it was a cold-blooded murder? Hell no. Knowing these bastards, it was probably self-defense. I wasn't due back at the office until Monday, so I still had time. I needed to think. No one in Boston named Richard Donnelly matched the description. At least I found a photo of him. I also knew that he had a secure locker in Gainesville, so I contacted the manager. He was skeptical at first, but eventually agreed to notify me if Donnelly wanted to send the contents somewhere. This turned out to be my only luck at the moment. Earlier that day, the man who managed the storage facility in Gainesville told me that Donnelly had arranged for his belongings to be moved to another secure storage facility in Los Angeles. And that was all. Throughout the country, there were more than 200,000 men named Richard Donnelly. The repository narrowed the search a bit. Now I knew he was in Los Angeles. There were only about 500 such people there. I had run out of tracks and was starting to get impatient, so I decided to take a chance. I picked up the phone, found the number in my contacts, and began to pray. Hello? Her voice rang out. Sophie, this is Brett. Don't hang up, I said quickly. Please, this is important. What happened, Brett? Sophie asked, and I could hear the tension in her voice. Believe it or not, I'm on your side, I answered calmly. What can you tell me about the night your husband disappeared? Why do you want to know? She answered. Because his life is in danger. Dwight made a mistake by asking me to find him, I replied through gritted teeth. You know those bastards set me up? Yes, I heard about it. Sheriff Bagwell hushed up those charges against you, Sophie replied. Why should I trust you? Because this is true. It's high time Dwight and Uncle Tim got what they deserve, I replied. She was silent for a few moments before speaking again. Okay, let's say I believe you, she said hesitantly. I don't know if I would have told you even if I knew. By the way, I don't know. I just filed for divorce from him for abandonment. His idea? I asked, playing a guess. Yes. As you can guess, I don't live there anymore. I've already sold the house. I don't blame you, I said with relief. I knew about Dwight's anger. I knew he would go after her if he thought she was helping her soon-to-be ex-husband. Wherever you are, don't tell me. Just stay there or move further away if you can. Several more long moments passed before she spoke again. She started with a sigh. If you're really honest, I'll give you the number of one of his friends. She was at our wedding and Rick trusts her. I would appreciate any help, Sophie, I replied, hoping she wasn't pulling my leg. Fine. Her name is Amelia Murphy, and I'll send you her number. Brett, you better be honest. You have my word, Sophie. Okay, bye. She hung up before I could answer. I started to think that she wouldn't help, but then I received the promised message. Of course, Amelia Murphy's name and number came up in the message. I breathed a sigh of relief and called her. She answered on the fourth ring. Hello? Asked a female voice. Miss Amelia Murphy? I asked for confirmation. Yes, who is it? She answered indifferently. My name is Brett Harland, ma'am. I'm from the FBI, looking for Rick Donnelly. There is reason to believe that his life is in danger. FBI, huh? What are you not saying, Brett Harland? Smart lady. I took a deep breath and decided to be honest. I just spoke to Sophie Donnelly, ma'am. She gave me your number and said you could help me find Rick Donnelly. What else could I do? What if I can? She asked in response, disbelief evident in her tone. I would appreciate any help, ma'am, I replied. Rick is not in any legal danger as far as I know. I really need to talk to him. Okay, but first I want to know your badge number, she said, and I read it to her. I work in the Atlantic FBI office, ma'am, I continued. You can check. Yeah. Does your boss know that you are involved in this business? Miss Murphy asked, still skeptical. I don't blame her. Again, I knew the truth was the only way forward. No, ma'am, I admitted. I'll tell you everything I know. If you don't want to help after that, I won't bother you again. Okay, she said. Continue. She listened patiently as I started from the beginning. I did not hide anything, even describing my previous complicity in the affairs of the Bagwell clan. I told her about the party and how Dwight Bagwell set me up. Then I moved to the present time, still telling the truth. Ma'am, I know I'm going to lose my job because of this, I said, finishing my story. I know I'll probably end up in jail too. I'm just tired of all this. The sheriff and his clan have left my city in the dirt. I want to destroy them, but I will need Rick's help. Mr. Harland, she began, are you telling me that your family, your own blood relatives, are so corrupt that they framed you? All this just to get an FBI agent on your side? Miss Murphy, my uncle is corrupt. But that doesn't make him a fool, I replied. He's also paranoid, like everyone else in the world. But hey, who better to produce and distribute illegal substances than officers of the law? Nobody would suspect them. I know for sure that he has the whole city in his pocket. Well, either in your pocket or pressed against the wall. The son of a bitch personally selected each of his deputies. The whole town is afraid of Tim Bagwell. I know. I was once afraid of him too. Now I'm just angry. More angry at myself than at him. I should never have let them get to me. She was silent for a long time. Reminded me of my last call to Sophie. I knew what she was thinking, so I gave her as much time as she needed. Can you give me 5 minutes, Mr. Harland? Asked Miss Murphy. Yes, ma'am, I replied. Fine, I'll call you back. With these words, she hung up. I spent the next 5 minutes looking at my watch, shaking my head and berating myself. I knew it was a gamble from the start, but I had to try something. I didn't expect her to call back. When those 5 minutes were up, I sighed and lowered my head. I have tried. God, I tried. 9 minutes after she hung up, my phone vibrated with an unfamiliar number. Although I knew what Oregonian was, the code. "Hello?" I said. "I heard you were looking for me," said a male voice with a Boston accent. "I'm listening to it. Say what you want to say." "Hallelujah and praise be to God. Mr. Donnelly, I presume?" I suggested, my spirits rising. "My name is Special Agent Brett Harland, FBI. You are very difficult to find. Rick, the next 6 months were the happiest of my life. I was able to start my business freelancing again, even with some celebrity clients. Jade helped with this. She introduced me to some people she knew. Soon I was back building computers, troubleshooting laptops, and having fun at work. Alicia and I also became close. We made each other happy, not only in sex. The more time we spent together, the more we found in common. Her work as an engineer sometimes took her to Santa Barbara. She worked from home most of the time. However, one day I went with her. I met her boss, Mr. Dunbar. He turned out to be a cool and very funny guy. Her work involved integrating experimental technologies into existing devices, such as mobile phones and vehicles. When I asked him about integration into laptops and PCs, we talked for a long time about this topic. By the end of this conversation, I had a meeting once a month to troubleshoot any problems. He basically started paying me $1,000 a month to do almost nothing. The man in charge of his IT department at Seven Eyes Inc. is a dude named Will Campbell. Will and I became friends. It turned out that he and his wife Rebecca also live in Santa Monica. They just go back and forth every day, an hour there and an hour back. I knew it was too good to last. Too damn good to last. That Saturday night, we were in bed together. We had just finished making love when Amelia called. Oh yeah, this is true. Amelia knew and approved that we were together. In any case, Alicia picked up the phone and listened for a few moments. Then she turned to me and put her phone on speaker. "Okay, Mom. Tell Rick what you just told me," Alicia said. "Hey, Rick," Amelia said through the phone's speakerphone. "Hello, Amelia. What's happened?" I asked. She relayed to me a conversation she had with an FBI agent named Brett Harland. This guy was looking for me, but there was something else. It turned out he was involved with the Bagwell bastards. "So you think he's serious?" I asked, not happy with what I heard. I'm usually pretty good at identifying traps. I was surprised that I didn't see a trap here. "I think you should call him," Amelia said. "Listen to what he says. I think he's sincere, but it's up to you. Let me give you his number." She sent me his number. "Thank you, Amelia," I said. "I will think." "Okay, honey, you two have a good night." "Bye," she said and hung up. "What do you think?" I asked Alicia. "I think Mom has a good instinct for people," she answered. Then she shrugged and smiled. "She definitely has a good instinct for you." "True," I said with a smile. "Okay, I'll at least listen to what he has to say. But I don't have any chances." I took my smartphone and launched the number spoofing app. It generates a fake number from a list I have programmed when I dial Special Agent Brett Harland's number. I put it on speaker before he answered. After greeting him, I told him to say what he needed. "Mr. Donnelly, I'm glad you called," he said with relief. "I know you've already been through hell, but I need your help." "As I heard," I snorted. "Listen, Agent, I'm not sure how I can help in this matter, and this is even if I believe you. I'll tell you straight, I'm not a fan of your family." "Well, I'm not a fan either. That's why I need your help," he snorted in response. "What the hell do you mean? Speak directly already." "I want you to come to the Atlanta FBI office," he said. "You are the only one who was able to escape from my family, as far as I know. Well, except for Sophie and Diana. The mention of my ex-wife and her mother made my throat tighten. "Listen, asshole," I growled. "If you hurt them, I will kill you." "Calm down, Mr. Donnelly. This is not what you think," he growled in response. "Listen to me. Your ex-wife and her mother are fine, And for all I know, they can stay that way. I don't even know where they are. Your ex is still using the same phone she's had for as long as I've known her. Okay, I replied, but I'm still skeptical. Why did you decide to betray your family? Are you saying Miss Murphy didn't tell you? He asked. It sounds surprising. Then he told me that he told her about how he was set up. They dropped the charges because they wanted their man inside the FBI. My lie detector didn't work. This surprised me. Either this guy was the best damn liar in history, or he was telling the truth. Okay, Agent Harland, I said. I'm still not completely convinced, but I will meet you. Alicia hit me on the back of the head, and I turned to her. She said with just her lips, "You won't go without me." I cancel. We will meet you. Okay, he replied. Thank you, Mr. Donnelly. This will cost me my job, and I will probably go to jail. But it's worth it so those bastards don't hurt anyone else. When you arrive, we will go to my boss together. Sounds good, I said. When is the best time to come? Can you be here on Monday morning? He asked. I looked at Alicia, and she smiled. Yes, Agent Harland. We'll be there on Monday morning. We arrived in Atlanta on Sunday evening. Alicia called her boss on Sunday, and he allowed her to accompany me. He only asked for a full explanation. She gave it to him, and he was okay with it. He just told us to be careful. We checked into a luxury hotel. We each had one duffel bag, so we had enough clothes for a few days. We booked a room for 2 nights, just in case. That night we made love long and tenderly, as if it was our last time together. I love you, Ollie, I whispered. No matter what happens, I love you. I love you too, honey, she replied softly, stroking my cheek. Everything will be fine. You'll see. We fell asleep in each other's arms. We woke up the same way. We were still on Pacific time and needed to get used to Eastern time, but we didn't have much jet lag. We were almost half dead when we walked into the Atlanta FBI office, however. It's good that we drank 2 cups of coffee, otherwise we would have been very ill. I told the front desk agent that we were there to meet with Agent Brett Harland. After checking our IDs, he gave us instructions and sent us upstairs. We went to the 3rd floor, where we headed to Agent Harland's office. I knocked on the door, and he opened it a minute later. Come in quickly, he said, letting us in. After we introduced ourselves, he continued. In 5 minutes, we will go to the Sun Wilson office. She's my boss. I may lose my job today, but it's high time I did the right thing. What changed? Alicia said, tilting her head to the side. What made you say, enough is enough? This, he answered, pointing at me. They wanted me to track down Rick Donnelly and bring him to them. I've been doing controversial things for Tim and Dwight the last few years. Damn, I'm no saint. But to be an accomplice in the murder of their innocent victim, whose only crime was that he ran away from them. No, I had to draw the line somewhere, and sometimes. Let it be here and now. I can barely look at myself in the mirror as I am. You're doing the right thing, Agent Harland, I said, nodding. He was put in an impossible situation, and he did what he had to do to survive. I respected that. I knew that damn feeling too well, too. Thanks for that, at least, he sighed. Then he looked at his watch. Okay, let's go to the boss. We left his office and walked down the corridor. He stopped in front of an office door marked Special Agent in Charge S. Wilson. Then he knocked. Come in, she called, and he opened the door so we could go in first. She sat at her desk like a queen on her throne. From her dark skin color to her wavy black hair, she was a beauty. She looked like what Alicia might look like if she were an FBI agent. She looked up and smiled pleasantly. Close the door, Agent Harland. I assume these are the people you told me about? Yes, ma'am, he said formally. In particular, Mr. Rick Donnelly is here. However, before we continue, I need to tell you all about my uncle and cousin and how they control Bufordville. Burfordville. It was the name of that provincial town. I'll still always call it the Boondocks. Harlan took a few deep breaths, then looked his boss in the eyes and told her everything. He started at the party he attended before his FBI training and ended here in the office. I will understand if you want me fired or if you want to fire me immediately. I plead guilty to whatever charges you choose to lay on me, ma'am, he pleaded. All I ask is that you first allow me to take part in the arrest of my uncle and cousin. So, those 3 investigations that we were going to start, but you rejected, were legitimate, Agent Wilson said. Perhaps, he nodded. Then he sighed. Hell, they were probably legit. I'm just tired of being blackmailed, and I'm not going to let them kill an innocent person. You know, Harland, I have to fire you right now. I have to handcuff you personally, Wilson said sternly but calmly. Crap. I have to contact the federal prosecutor as soon as I put you in handcuffs. She put her head in her hands and sighed heavily. Then she looked at him again. However, I'm not going to do that, Brett. You've been a damn good agent since you got here. You are also a good friend. This is your only chance at redemption. If we succeed, I will accept your dismissal and you will be free. Now everyone sits down and let's figure it out. We sat there for fucking 3 hours. Eventually, Harland and Wilson came up with a clear plan of action. It turned out to be surprisingly simple. Harland will call T-Bag and arrange a meeting for the next day. The FBI will set up surveillance at any location T-Bag indicates. Son Wilson authorized a full tactical unit for the operation. Alicia somehow negotiated her participation in the case. She'll be waiting in one of the vans with the FBI task force, including Son Wilson. Of course I will participate. I'm bait. We will both be equipped with microphones. We need to get them to talk and admit to the crimes they committed. When the whole plan was ready, Harland cleared his throat. I apologize again for putting you in this position, Simone, he said, using his boss's name. I know, Brett, she replied, smiling. Now we have a chance to clear the city of the sheriff and his deputies. You arrest these bastards, and I'll be damn happy, ma'am, I said and nodded at her. Me too, Alicia added. We'll do it. Don't worry, Wilson smiled reassuringly. We'll have snipers from the tactical unit on standby in case something goes wrong. I will order them to shoot if any of them try to get their weapons. Sounds good, ma'am, I said, nodding gratefully. She answered me with a nod and turned to Harland. Ready to make that call, Brett? She asked. Then she took out a micro recorder and put it on the table. Brett took out his smartphone and dialed a number. He put the phone on speaker and placed the phone next to the recorder. At that moment, Wilson turned on the recorder. Tell me you have good news, Dwight's voice said without even saying hello. I have great news, bastard, Harland replied. I have your sworn enemy here. We can come tomorrow. Should I deliver him to the station? No, not to the station, D-Bag replied. There are too many witnesses at any time of the day. Bring him to my house. We will do everything quickly and quietly. Damn it. You're really going to kill him, aren't you? Said Harland with grim confidence. Of course I'm going to, D-Bag laughed. Then his voice became serious. He killed my 2 best friends in cold blood. So yeah, damn it, I'm going to kill this Yankee devil. Do you have problems with this? No, I think not, Harland replied, shaking his head. After that, we're even. Seriously, I won't do any more favors for you or Uncle Tim. Heck, I'll still be happy if I don't lose my job and end up in federal prison. Well, Dad will be here tomorrow. You can tell him this in person. Be here by noon, D-Bag said. Noon. Got it, Harland answered tensely. Fine. See you, D-Bag laughed and hung up. That's enough for a charge of conspiracy to commit a crime, Wilson said with a smile. Dwight Bagwell also hinted that his father, the sheriff, was involved. Then she smiled, looking at Harland. Brett, this is the best we could dig up in our previous investigations. Those were minor complaints. This case gives us at least 1 felony for Tim and Dwight Bagwell. As I said, this also gives us a reason to search both Bagwell houses. You have already begun your redemption. Thank you, Simone, Harland replied, and they exchanged smiles. Then his smile disappeared. I just want all this shit to end. They've been harassing my hometown for too long. I have a few questions, Wilson said, looking at me. What did Dwight mean when he said you killed 2 of his deputies in cold blood? I didn't kill anyone in cold blood, I shook my head. Technically, I didn't kill anyone at all. Big Roscoe did it when they tried to feed me to him. Big Roscoe. Wilson raised her eyebrows. Who or what is Big Roscoe? My theory is that he was in Jurassic Park, ma'am, I said with a shrug. This is a 40-foot alligator that lives in a large pond in a swamp outside the city limits. Big Roscoe is kind of our town mascot, Harland added. When I was a child, my friends and I tried to catch his eye. We've seen it a few times and Rick is right. He's huge. He's been here for as long as anyone can remember. Agent Wilson just shook her head and chuckled slightly. Then she became serious again and looked at me. What happened that night, Mr. Donnelly? Well, ma'am, it was like this. I began to tell. After they turned my ex-wife against me by playing on her insecurities and trust issues. During my monologue, I felt Alicia take my hand. She squeezed it, showing her support. When I finished, Wilson looked at me with doubt mixed with sympathy. So you drove across the country after being beaten half dead, she asked, not knowing whether to sympathize with me or laugh and call me a liar. It's true, Agent Wilson, Alicia intervened. God bless Alicia, always. In case I haven't mentioned, God bless Alicia, always. I didn't know how badly he was injured until he was at my house for about half an hour. He also had a mild concussion, a few bruised ribs, and his bad knee was taking its toll, Alicia added. An old baseball injury, I shrugged as Wilson looked at me curiously. I played a little in college. You played for the Gators, Wilson smiled. I thought I recognized you from somewhere. What happened to you was terrible. You'd be a star now if that bastard hadn't hurt you. Thanks for reminding me, I snorted, grinning. In any case, it was fun. What time do we leave tomorrow? My team and I are leaving today, Wilson said. We're going to inspect Dwight's place as soon as possible. You 3 are flying tomorrow. When you land in Gainesville, I will meet you. Miss Murphy, you will come with me. Rick, you'll go with Brett, and we'll keep an eye on you. When the time comes, we will destroy the Bagwell family. Sounds good, I shrugged. Now go back to the hotel and get some sleep. You'll need this, she said as we all stood up. Alicia and I shook her hand and left. As we were leaving, she called Harland. Brett, stay. I need your help in one matter. Yes, ma'am, he replied. Do you think they? I said to Alicia as we walked to the elevator. There's something about the atmosphere between Harland and Wilson. This got me thinking. Oh yeah, they are definitely together, Alicia laughed. Looks like some guys aren't so stupid after all. When I looked at her questioningly, she explained as we entered the elevator. Body language, honey. And those little smiles they exchanged. They constantly called each other by name. I think they are not just lovers. If that was all, she would have fired him. When we got to the first floor, we headed straight to the hotel. As soon as we got there, we began to prepare for tomorrow. In other words, we made love. The next morning, we checked out of the hotel, dropped off our bags at the FBI office, and headed to the airport to meet Harland. From there, we flew on an FBI plane to Gainesville. Agent Wilson met us when we landed, and as soon as we stepped off the plane, I kissed Alicia for a full minute. I'll be back, honey, I whispered to her, hugging her. You'd better come back, honey, she answered just as quietly. I saw a tear in her eye threatening to fall, so I smiled reassuringly. Hey, don't worry. They have everything under control. These stupid bastards have no idea what's coming at them. She laughed in spite of herself. Then she kissed me again. Be careful, Rick. I'll be as careful as I can. I love you, I replied, walking away. I love you too, honey, she replied, then turned and walked towards Agent Wilson and her team van. In the meantime, I joined Harland in the car Wilson rented for us. When I asked why we needed a rental, Harland said the FBI cars were too visible, especially in a small town. It probably made sense. I also noticed that most of the FBI agents were in plain clothes, which would have helped as well. They still wore body armor under their jackets. Hey, if it works, then fine. As we drove south from Gainesville into the boondocks, I decided to strike up a conversation. So, you and Agent Wilson, huh? What do you mean? He avoided answering. Come on, dude. Alicia noticed immediately. There is something between you, you know? I grinned. He shook his head and sighed. Okay, you caught me. Yes, we have been dating secretly for more than 2 years. The FBI does not condone relationships between superiors and subordinates. This is shit, man, I said sympathetically. He laughed a little. It's not that shitty, considering that she should have fired me and put me in jail. Seriously, I deserve it and more. No, dude, you deserve it, I said, grinning. If she didn't love you, who knows when the FBI would have taken on the Bagwell bastards. She said it. This is your chance at redemption, not to mention getting rid of these stupid bastards forever. I think you're right, Rick, he admitted. I just hope Simone can forgive me when this is all over. I'm sure she's already forgiven you, Brett, I snorted, although I could be wrong. Anyway, if she doesn't forgive you by the end of this case, Alicia and I will talk to her for you. I appreciate it, Rick, he said, nodding at me. Aren't these handcuffs too tight? You mean these handcuffs? I grinned, taking them out from behind my back. I laughed when I saw his expression. Then I took pity on him and explained. I might sprain my thumbs, man. This doesn't work if the handcuffs are too tight, but most cops don't tighten them all the way. If those bastards hadn't tightened the handcuffs when they put me in the chair that night, things would have been completely different. I knew Dwight was lying when he said you killed Brad and Jerry in cold blood, he nodded. All I could think about was that in cold blood meant self-defense to him. Hey, technically, I didn't kill anyone, I corrected him, raising my hands. It is not my fault. Big Roscoe just wanted to snack on bacon that night. He laughed hard at this. As an FBI agent, I should be offended. But Jerry and Brad were pigs. Dwight is still a pig, I added, suddenly not in the mood. Dwight and Tim are sociopaths, Rick, he said, as serious as the Pope. They believe that whatever they do is right, no matter who gets hurt. They see people as toys, nothing more. Hell, even my mom, Tim's sister, is afraid of him. If Dwight's mother hadn't died when he was a child, maybe he would have been different. Although you can't guess for sure. I lost my mother when I was 12, and my father died when I was 17, I admitted. Lost my grandparents 4 years later when I was in college. If it weren't for Alicia and her mom Amelia, I wouldn't be here today. I understand you, he nodded. Dwight didn't have the same support as you. When Erica died, Tim tried to keep Dwight away from us. I'm pretty sure that even though Erica's death was attributed to a seizure, Tim had a hand in it. Seriously? You have no idea, he sighed deeply. Tim had a mean streak 10 miles long. He's always been a vindictive bastard. If Erica talked to a woman Tim didn't approve of, she wouldn't be seen for days. Or if seen, she was wearing dark glasses. And God forbid that she speaks to a man. It's the 21st damn century, dude, I said in disbelief. How the hell does Tim get away with this crap? Have you noticed how small the town of Boondocks is, Rick? He grinned, raising one eyebrow. I snorted when he used my name for the city. My uncle's family has owned this city for almost 200 years. They do what they want, with whomever they want. They act cautiously enough that most people don't think twice about resistance. This doesn't stop them from getting their way anyway. From what I heard from Mom and Dad, Tim is going to run for mayor in the next election and wants to make Dwight sheriff. This won't happen, I promised him. We will arrest them all today, right? Yes, we will do it, he said with conviction. Then he looked past me and chuckled. Looks like Big Roscoe is hoping for another helping of bacon. I looked, and sure enough, this damn dinosaur was sprawled out on the grass by his pond. As long as he doesn't like Irish sausage, I'll be fine, I laughed nervously. Damn, this thing is huge. Oh wait, I already mentioned this. How old is this monster anyway? Well, if you believe the stories, he said, smiling. It's older than the city itself. Alligators and crocodiles continue to grow throughout their lives. Considering how big Roscoe is, I wouldn't be surprised if these stories are true. Then he looked ahead and turned onto a country road. We are here. Please put those handcuffs back on. We need to make it as authentic as possible. I already said that Tim is not a fool. He's also paranoid as hell. Got it, I said, fastening the handcuffs behind my back. Wait here, Harlan said quietly, getting out of the car and heading towards Dwight's door. He used the door knocker, then returned to the car and opened my door. As he helped me up, the door opened and Dwight and Tim came out to meet us. Good job, Brett, Tim said, smiling at his nephew. Do you have this fabricated evidence? Brett replied, not wanting to waste time on unnecessary formalities. That's no way to talk to your uncle, Brett, D-Bag smirked, waving his finger in the air. Especially with the person who saved you from prison. Well, Dwight, if you hadn't had a hand in this, I wouldn't be in this situation in the first place, Harlan replied. Hey, now, it is not my fault. At least you were okay when it went away. Dwight raised his hands as if he was completely innocent, but we already had everything we needed. You'll never get away from this, Dwight, I said, deviating slightly from the script. You think so, right? He laughed. When we're done with you, I'll find your sweet wife. Then I'll have some fun with her before I kill her. Said Harlan, as if thinking. Then he looked at me. Do you think that's enough, Rick? I think so, Brett, I shrugged, looking at him. It's enough that he admitted that he set you up. He then threatened Sophie and admitted that he was going to kill me. That should be enough for the FBI. Everything else is just an addition. When we looked at Dwight and Tim again, they looked shocked. You know the FBI will send you to jail too, you bastard, Tim shouted, the first to recover from the shock. That is, if I don't kill you right now. With these words, he pulled out a pistol from his belt. There was a fight. We got him. Rick, stop. Let me handcuff him and arrest him, he shouted, waking me up from my Irish rage. I relaxed. He's all yours, Brett. He let me go. I went up to Dwight and read him his rights. I finally got my revenge on that bastard. The Yankee devil got his. Every home of every deputy was searched. Some turned out to be pure, while others had illegal substances or were producing them. Every single one of them, including Dwight, received a minimum of 15 years. Dwight, the brains behind many disappearances, received the death penalty when the FBI took over Big Roscoe's pond. Ironically, he was also sentenced for those two. The mayor was also detained, and it turned out that he knew and was an accomplice in Tim's affairs. The FBI had to request help from the governor of Florida, who sent the National Guard to protect the city until issues with management and the police were resolved. Agent Wilson left her deputy in place and returned to Atlanta with us. She wanted to interrogate all of us in her office. Okay, she said when we were all in her office. Then she breathed a sigh of relief. Sit down, guys. As we all sat down in those uncomfortable government chairs, Harlan was the first to speak. Ma'am, I will write a letter of resignation as soon as I finish the paperwork on the case, he said. You won't do anything like that, Brett, she said, with a slight smile on her lips. I'll explain later. Right now, I want to tell all of you that you did a great job. Hey, I just stood there in handcuffs, taunting Dwight. I shrugged, causing everyone else to laugh. I don't know what I did either, other than sit in the van, biting my fists, Alicia added. You were both helpful in your own ways, she replied, smiling sincerely. Thanks to you too, I'm not going to accept Brett's dismissal. I don't care anymore if Washington finds out. Good for you, I grinned. Brett looked stunned, to say the least. Are you? Are you serious, Simone? He asked. I still have to reprimand you, Brett, she said, but it was a big deal for all of us. I understand. They put you in an impossible situation. You could tell me, though. I trust you with my life, darling. I also trust you with my heart. Brett Harlan looked like he thought it was a dream. What? Miss Murphy pointed this out to me, honey, she smiled, winking at Alicia, to which my lady smiled. Then she turned to him again. She told me that you didn't have to tell me what was going on. You did this because you love me and because you want to be the best person for me. Brett Harlan nodded. That's part of the reason. I also wanted that fake evidence to go away. I knew that as long as they had that, you and I would have no real future. Do you mean this evidence? Simone said, holding a folder in her hands, smiling. Before Harlan could respond, she turned and inserted the folder into the industrial shredder. Then she turned to us again. We have enough evidence against this city government as is. There's no point in ruining a great agent's reputation in the process. Plus, we already have Dwight Bagwell on tape admitting that he set you up. I love you, Simone, Harlan said, standing up and walking to her side of the table. She stood up, and he hugged her. I love you too, Brett, she replied with a smile and kissed him. Should I give you some space? I asked, breaking their kiss. So, we have a flight back to Los Angeles this evening. Go, guys, Wilson said, smiling. Thank you both for your help. If we need your certificate, I have your number. This is our signal to leave here, Alicia said, taking my hand and leading me to the exit. After that, everything more or less returned to normal. Somehow Diana and Sophie got my new number. I couldn't stay mad at Amelia, though. She had a point when I called her and asked why Diana and Sophie were flying to Los Angeles. She said we all need closure on this chapter before we move on. Like I said, I stopped hating Sophie a long time ago. I will never be able to love her again, but after what she did, could anyone in my situation? At least the nightmares have stopped. When the knock came, we had just finished preparing for our Independence Day celebration. We had a lot of friends and neighbors who were going to come. I'll open it, honey, I said, approaching the front door. I thought it was one of our friends who came to help, maybe. Imagine my surprise when I opened the door. Sophie, Diana, you both look good, I said, in a state of shock. We talked on the phone, but I never expected them to show up here. Well, come in. We're just finishing up preparations for the 4th of July barbecue. You can stay. Thank you very much, Rick, Diana said, hugging me. Sophie seemed hesitant, but I hugged her too. I'm sorry, Rick, she said, barely holding back tears. I'm so sorry for what I did to you. Stop worrying about it, Sophie. What's done is done, I said, retreating. If it means anything, I forgive you. Okay? But that doesn't mean I'm bringing you back. My heart belongs to someone else. Who is it, honey? Alicia asked, entering the hallway. Alicia, this is Sophie and Diana Randall, I introduced them. Sophie, Diana, this is my fiancée, Alicia. Yes, right. I was notified by Brett and Simone that I was now officially divorced. Once it was official, I proposed to Alicia the next day. I gave her the ring while getting down on one knee. Everything is in full. Hello, Alicia said, smiling. She hugged them both. Diana took it calmly, of course. Sophie, on the other hand, barely returned the hug. Nice to meet you both. Sorry for the mess in the kitchen, but you are welcome to join us. Sophie began to hesitate, but Diana put her hand on her daughter's shoulder. We'll be happy to stay. When does the barbecue start? We'll start around 4, or as soon as Carisse and Jade get back from shopping for alcohol, whichever comes first, Alicia laughed. Sorry, these are our roommates. It will take them a while, they just left. Come in. Sit down on the sofa and we can talk. And we talked. Sophie told me what I already knew. Our marriage is officially over. I simply nodded and thanked her. Right before Chari and Jade walked in, Sophie looked at them. Alicia, thank you very much. I know I'm not the one who should be giving you advice, but please treat Rick better than I did. Trust him. Always trust him. Alicia just looked at me and smiled. I saw love in her eyes when she said, I already trust. As our good friend said, I trust him with my life and my heart. We had a great time at the barbecue, of course. I grilled ribs, burgers, hot dogs, and chicken. We had salads for the vegetarians and vegans in our group. Alicia's idea, not mine. I'm a meat eater and always will be. Then, when the party was almost over, Alicia handed me a Guinness and addressed our guests. Can I have your attention, everyone? She called. When everyone looked her way, she smiled brightly and intertwined her fingers with mine. I have an announcement. We are expecting a baby. I'm proud that I came to my senses quickly. Then I hugged Alicia and kissed her tenderly. Life is freaking good. Subscribe to our channel so that your love doesn't cheat on you, and go ahead and listen to the next story, because this story is nothing compared to the next one. If you're under 18, don't even think click to the next one.